Well, hello there, everybody. How you doing?
Blake, answer the question, good sir. How are you doing on your second appearance on Strictly Football?
That's right.
Yeah, first one I made a cameo, so this is going to be the full show. I'm in for the full experience. I'm looking
All
forward.
right,
Thank you for inviting me.
everybody.
Yes.
Welcome to Strictly Football with Mike Bara, Brian Engelman, and today TV's Blake Wally. Great to have you guys with us to talk some football. We're going to talk some Browns, some Seahawks, and some Vikings, as well as all the other games. And then we're going to pick them. And we got Jim Mitchell's betting tips live from, well, not live from Las Vegas, but next week maybe we can get live from Las Vegas. We'll have Jim come on and actually read his betting tips, but we've got him. So there you go.
Heck yeah, this was a super exciting week. We're going to talk about the Snow Globe. We're going to talk about their first place teams fighting to win the division. All of that and more on today's episode of Strictly Football, powered by the Unhappy Hour.
Eric Metcalf, and you're watching Unhappy Hour.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining.
The only way that could have been better is if it was Mike Tyson. So
yeah, Mike Tyson. Did you guys all watch the fight?
Like Unhappy Hour tattooed on his ass cheeks. That would have been.
That would be an awesome. You know who used to do that all the time? Back in the day when my band was playing, my brother would make the funniest flyers. He would do something just like that and put Twist of Nothing right on an ass cheek. And that would be the flyer that week posted all over campus at Bowling Green State University.
Nice.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Nice.
Well, I'll tell you what was plastered across the country last week. That was the Snow Globe game in Cleveland, freaking Ohio. It's been a season to forget on the shores of Lake Erie for the Cleveland Browns, who were in the playoffs last year, expecting to take leaps and bounds this year, perhaps. And my God, they were instead battling for the title of worst team in the league. Are they in the running for the top quarterback to replace Deshaun Watson, Mike? That's where we started.
Well, and nothing better than a snow game. Russell Wilson was phenomenal on third down, but they didn't quite get enough points. Remember last week I told you the betting tip that I got from not from Jim, it was from another show I was watching. I forget what it was, but they said basically that it was it was like an NFL Network thing where they said that Mike Tomlin was 0-7 on a short week against a divisional opponent on the road. And that was that game. And now he's 0-8. So it must mean something, right? But I got to show you this. This is Colin Cowherd went to a bar in LA. Oh, yes. They have cameras set up around the stadium, right? They have cameras set up. And so when you're standing there, it's as if you're sitting in the stadium watching the game. Check this out. This is like incredible. This is the future of sports entertainment experience. Check this out. Feels like you're there.
That is insane. I want to watch a game.
Good.
Look at that snow. It's literally a snow globe.
You would think you were there. You would think you were there, but you're not there. So, I got a feeling this is going to be definitely a future thing in sports. I think he didn't actually put a link in for this COSM, COSM, which is just a new bar chain, I guess, that's going to be coming out all over the country for these kinds of experiences. So we'll look forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, just look at this. Walking in, this is the scene as you're walking up the stairs, people. A snow globe, like one of the weirdest things you've ever stepped foot into. And this was as it began. That was even before all of the festivities really occurred. I mean, look at this. Look at this on the screen.
Yeah. I remember I went to a Monday night game, Seahawks and the Packers in Seattle. And we were in the third level, and there's an overhang, there's coverage, right? But we were on the row where literally the snow was coming down, Brett Favre versus the Seahawks, Matt Hasselbeck and the Seahawks. And the snow came down and literally about halfway down my thighs was the line of the snow. So my knees and the front of my legs got soaking wet from the snow and frozen solid, and from my thighs up, I was dry. It was really weird. But snow games are the best. They're just fucking epic.
Look at these guys doing snow angels, throwing snowballs at each other. Like, football is an outdoor sport meant to be played outdoors. I understand the value that a community would have by having a dome so that you can have conventions over there.
Helicopter play. That one by Jameis was much better than the stupid Elway play.
Yeah, the Elway helicopter, the play that will live in infamy. Blake, what did you think watching this game?
It was phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. I actually just upgraded my TV. I've got like a 75-inch Sony.
Boobs pressing on your face as she hands you your beer. That's the next step in the experience. But here in Vegas,
Scotty.
Here in Vegas, you can go to the Sphere to watch a concert of U2 performing at the Sphere. How weird is that? So I don't know. I haven't gone yet, but maybe I'll go check it out.
Yeah, it seems incredible. I'm a big fan of all of these advancements. Even for a concert, I love concerts, but there's a whole day involved, and it's really expensive. And trying to find somewhere comfortable, and then how long of a line to use the facilities, and then the line to get merch, the line to get a beverage, the line. It's a whole thing. But if you could get the experience of just enjoying the moment and really getting something extra, I'm all about it. But yeah, that game was something extra for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, Myles Garrett, thoughts on Myles Garrett? Anybody? I mean, he took it personally that TJ Watt was running his mouth when Myles got Defensive Player of the Year, kind of challenging whether Myles was up for it or not. And he mentioned it many times, I am the best player in the league. It runs through me. And he came out with 3 sacks and dominated.
Yeah, and TJ didn't do a thing. And my brother kept commenting. I think that honestly, the footing, the snow spooked TJ Watt a little bit, because he seemed like he was tiptoeing around out there, didn't get any leverage and didn't make any plays. And Myles Garrett showed you can still make plays even in the snow. So it was that was a good thing about it. And it was just an entertaining game, and fulfilled my prophecy that I passed on from somebody else. I forget where I heard that, but just that I think it was actually a tweet by somebody like Ross Tucker, that Tomlin 0-7 on the road in the division on a short week, and now he's 0-8. And so I picked the Browns last week for that reason, and I would never have picked them otherwise. So, these kind of things are factors. You don't understand that there are factors like that you have to consider. That's why the Vegas guys are smarter than us and make more money at it. So
yeah, there might be something to that. Blake, you've seen your share of defensive end legends. You've had people up in Minnesota that were pretty badass. Have you seen anybody as good as Myles Garrett that can just absolutely wreck the games? I mean, you've had some good ones, and you also had Reggie White in your division as well. Like that defensive pass rushing position, the defensive end. You've seen it. Where does Myles rank for you?
Oh, he's definitely one of the top guys in the game for sure. I mean, I can't take anything away from him. He's a game wrecker. He's pretty incredible. Yeah, we've had quite a few go through there.
Jared Allen was such a
but
yeah, you've seen some incredible defensive end play in your day. But yeah, back to the Browns real quick. That game essentially it recalibrated what the Browns are doing and what we're supposed to do at the quarterback position. It's pretty important that we figure out what in the heck we're supposed to do. We improved to 3-8 on the season, and we beat the 8-3 Steelers. So we have been, I think we became the only team in NFL history, check the stats, to break 2 5-game winning streaks in the division. Like, we did something ridiculous. We beat the Ravens, we beat the Steelers, and we stopped 2 5-game winning streaks. And we're only a 3-8 team. But now we're trying to figure out, what do we do next year at quarterback? Any thoughts on Jameis Winston and what you saw out of him? He had the LASIK surgery. If you really look, his turnovers are way down from that 30-30 season that he's so famous for. And look, I don't know, have you watched the interviews with this guy? Like, he's an interesting character on the sidelines. He praises God. He's living in the moment. He's like, my entire life, I've never played in the snow. He's like, glory be to the Creator. Like, this is the best day ever for me. Any thoughts on the quarterback position for the Browns? Because we went from being the maybe 1 or 2 overall pick to now we're somewhere 7, 8. And we're looking at Jameis. Can he be a bridge quarterback to something while we build around him? Any thoughts? What would you do if you were the GM of the Browns at quarterback, knowing you have Deshaun Watson for like $110 million over 2 years, fully guaranteed, regardless? What would you guys do?
Take the quarterback. You always take the quarterback. And if that means you have to move on from Jameis, you move on. Jameis is interesting because he's got a photographic memory, but yet he makes some of the worst fucking decisions with the football you could ever imagine. I mean, it's like he's like Geno Smith. It's like, I mean, Geno's not very smart, but Jameis is really intelligent, yet he just can't seem in the moment under pressure to make the right decision. And you know, you got, if there's a quarterback there that's worth taking as a first round pick, you take him. If you have this guy rated in the first round, I don't care if you have him rated as the 32nd or 35th best player, even in the early second round. If you're sitting there at 8 and you know you're looking at your future at quarterback, you just take the quarterback. You just take the chance because you have to. You have to. That's how the Eagles ended up with Jalen Hurts. That's how the Packers ended up with Jordan Love. You know,
if you see a guy that you like, you take him, even if you got to stretch a little bit in the first round.
You just take him, and no matter how much you might appreciate what Jameis did for you, it's business. So you got to do the business thing.
That's fair. Blake, you're GM of the Cleveland Browns for a day, knowing what you know. What do you do here? Do you like, what have you seen? Because we've seen 400-yard games out of Jameis with no interceptions. Last week, he played great, and the team got blown out by 21 points. And it's like, he's clearly not the only problem with this team, why we're 3-8. But what say you at quarterback? I mean, Jameis, who has this video pulled up here? You got...
I do, because I really thought this was hilarious.
Okay, well, give me your thoughts on Jameis and then play the hilarious interview. Everything about Jameis is great. Go binge watch, is an hour straight of stuff on X about Jameis. It's incredible footage this week.
Yeah, I wasn't even that familiar with him personally until he started speaking after the injury to Watson. And I was like, and everyone was kind of blown away by what he said. Yeah. And then we had this interview here, and the way he's smiling. I think this person nailed it when he was saying it looks like a hit of MDMA. I guess would be ecstasy. Kind of kicked in halfway through the interview, and you see this weird smile just go across his face. It does. That's exactly what it looks like. It's hilarious. I'll roll this real quick. Then I'll get to that.
You don't become a Brown until you beat the Steelers. What will it take tonight?
Great line.
The horse is prepared for battle, but victory comes from the Lord. So I'm dependent on the Lord.
Is that the message to the team?
Day by day, one play at a time. That's the message.
Weather conditions tonight. We're expecting winds up to 15 miles per hour in a wintry mix. How will that impact your ability to throw the ball?
I am so happy and grateful that the Lord has blessed me to play in some snow, to be in true football weather in Cleveland, Ohio at Huntington Bank Field today to give him the glory. It's a beautiful day.
Sure feels like you're playing in the AFC North.
It is. It's magical. Thank you.
All right.
That's wild.
Let me tell you, it is magical. Let me show you this. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. So this is in the first round of the playoffs. This is my high school, Brunswick Blue Devils, undefeated. First round of the playoffs against Masson. They have a live Bengal tiger on their sidelines. They're playing in Paul Brown Stadium. These guys are just massive. We're in the playoffs. This is me in the fourth quarter in an absolute whiteout game. I sack quarterback Ben Himes. They have about a minute and a half on the clock. They're around the 35, 40-yard line, trying to get down. We win the game 6-7. They missed their extra point in the blizzard. We made ours. And this picture has been with me. They use this on our program for the high school football team year after year after year after year. And so I lived this moment, and I got a chance to this was in the newspaper the next day. And I was oh my God. I got up from the sack and I just yelled at my stands. This is me screaming at our sidelines to get as loud as they can so we can end this game. So when I watch a game like this, woo, I get it all in the feels, gentlemen.
I can't get over how big the shoulder pads are. That's what kills me. How huge the freaking shoulder pads are.
No. Those are my real shoulders, bro.
Those are your real.
Those are the real shoulders. But anyway, it was a fantastic game. It was one of my favorite things that I've seen in a very long time. We'll see what the Browns do the rest of the season. Are they going to remain competitive? they're better than their 3-8 record says they are, I think. So anyway, that's pretty much all I had to say on that. Any final thoughts on the Snow Globe game? Steelers Browns, Blake?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just disappointed because I had the Browns and the under, which I looked like a genius through 3 quarters, and then there was like 4 touchdowns in the 4th quarter, and it ruined my bet. I think I had under 36.5, so that was disappointing. But yeah, Winston, he's a cool guy. I think you should keep him if you can, but I definitely agree with Mike. You got to draft somebody.
I think we need to. I think we should move to the Vikings game next because I have breaking news. Daniel Jones is going to sign with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep.
Okay, interesting. I actually had this one queued up, but I can switch over. We're gonna do Vikings. Breaking news. We need a breaking news.
I have one over on mine.
Okay, yeah, we need to add that in here. Minnesota Vikings, they beat the Bears 30-27. Everybody, Sam Darnold leads the game-winning drive. That's in overtime. And after blowing the late lead, the Vikings get the win. And now they sign Daniel freaking Jones. That's not a bad move. Maybe, depending on who else was available at the time. Let's throw it to Blake since he is Captain Viking. Showing the love on
representing. Yeah, there we go.
What about this game? We'll talk about this game, and then we'll talk about the quarterback, bolstering the quarterback room there for
you. So this game, I didn't have the red zone this week because I just moved. I'm going to try to reorder it for this week. So I had to listen to it, The Legend of Paul Allen, which is great, via podcast audio here in Nashville because they rarely show Vikings games. But it was great up until the end, and it was like, oh my God, are we gonna give away the game? And then they made Sam Darnold. It was great. Made a great last minute or in overtime, made that long drive, and they put it away. So that was good to see. I know I actually bet against the Vikings because I know historically they usually struggle on the road in Chicago, and it was close. So they did actually cover the 3.5 points there. So I knew it was going to be close in a defensive game, but it actually went up. Scored a lot of points, but good times, good game. And as far as the Daniel Jones thing, I think they got him for a very low price, like $350,000 or something. He's going to be on the practice squad. He adds to the room. He's got some relationship with Kevin O'Connell, the coach. And yeah, he's I don't expect him to really do anything this year. But he's going to take a while for him to, learn the offense and the scheme and everything like that. But he's a good insurance option, and he could be a part next year. We don't really know what's going to happen, whether it's going to be Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy. And you could have Daniel Jones there, I think, as a potential backup either way. I don't think I think his starting days are probably over, but he is a solid guy, and he could be effective in situations. So he's still got a lot of football left. And we're getting a lease on him for this year, and we'll see what happens after that.
And I would just add this as well. People said Baker Mayfield was done as a starter. People said Sam Darnold was done as a starter. People said Geno Smith was done as a starter. People have said Joe Flacco came off of the freaking couch to play us the game-clinching win against the Jets on a Thursday night game that I got to go to, led us into the playoffs, off of the couch. Nobody had Joe Flacco on the bingo card. The Browns played 5 different quarterbacks last year. So as much as the quarterback position is crucial, it's also interchangeable when you have brilliant people, when you have very talented players like Baker Mayfield, Jameis Winston, both former Heisman winners. They don't give all those. Only one person gets that every year. You got to be kind of good to get one. Does it translate to the NFL? Not always, but we never know when somebody's story is done being written. Mike, thoughts on the Vikings? This was a very entertaining game. It was back and forth and nail biting overtime. And it's like, who's going to finally get leaning in on your seat watching that one?
Yeah, the Vikings were in control most of the way. And then the Bears, I thought, got a little lucky to tie it up there at the end. But, Caleb Williams is a playmaker. He's got a lot of skills. He's got Cam Newton type of skills, and he showed those the other day. And a couple of the throws he made were really, really impressive. impressive on the run and stuff. Very impressive throws. He's got great skill talent around him. Cole Kmet, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Ramon Dunze. Look at that. They all combined for about 30 catches. And, that was a big deal. Yep. So they gave the Vikings all they could handle, but in the end, the Vikings were the winners. And, I like Sam Darnold. It's interesting that Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones are kind of very similar stories in that they're both top 10 picks, maybe a little bit overdrafted. But I got to tell you, I think Sam, that Daniel Jones has more upside left than Sam Darnold does. Sam Darnold is what he is, and he's been pretty good to this point. But I got to believe he didn't sign there to be the backup. I don't think he signed there to be the backup. I think the Vikings must have told him, you're going to play this year, or you're going to have a chance to be the starter next year or something, because it's an odd situation. Like Blake said, there's no room on the roster for JJ McCarthy and Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones. And it sounds to me like they're going to probably move Daniel Jones into it. And I got to tell you, he beat the Seahawks this year in week 5. He was very impressive. And I made a video on Seahawk Boys TV where I said the Seahawks aren't going to do anything about Daniel Jones, but they should, because they should bring him in to replace Geno Smith next year as their bridge starter. And maybe because he's got the potential to be better than that. And he's been in a terrible situation, but you look at Minnesota, they've got Justin Jefferson, they've got Jordan Addison. You guys, there's some tools there. So, and a good defense. So I think this is a story that bears watching over the next few weeks, because I think Daniel Jones is going to make an impact on the Vikings, maybe even this year. And, again, why would he sign there?
I'll tell you why. It's because they're primed to give him playoff experience for the first time in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Baker Mayfield could have signed with all of the teams, the Falcons, the Steelers, right, the Colts. There was a list of probably 8 to 10 teams that had no stable situation at quarterback. The Browns did him the unfortunate disservice of holding on so long so that they went through the draft and everybody made their quarterback choices instead of letting him sign where he wanted. So the only place left was getting dumped onto Carolina. So they got like a 5th or 6th round draft pick back in return. Fine. But when he escaped the train wreck that is the Carolina Panthers, he was able to sign on with the Los Angeles Rams. Sean McVay, a super smart coach, Matt Stafford injured, wide open at quarterback at the moment. And he got to learn from a Super Bowl winning culture, organization, structure, how to be a professional, how to win, how to have good expectations, take coaching from some of the best. And then he parlayed that into a chance just to kind of he signed let me show you, let me prove to you what I can do to Tampa Bay and the Buccaneers. And they go, you did all right. Here's a 3-year, $100 million contract.
Right.
Boom. Nobody has more passing touchdowns. Baker Mayfield.
The point I'm going to make here is Daniel Jones doesn't do this unless they're telling him he's going to start this year.
I don't think so. I think he wants to pass to the playoffs. And it's not a super stable situation at quarterback. Right. You're one knee injury away. You're one ankle tweak, one concussion. You could be the guy tomorrow, and you're a playoff team going somewhere. I mean, I don't think he's been promised. This is Sam Darnold's team. Yeah. Like, am I wrong there? He thinks that also Jones might get the reins.
One little thing is the reason why he signed so cheaply for the Vikings is because the Giants have to pay the rest of his guaranteed salary this year.
Oh, right.
He could have signed for $50 a game or something if he wanted to. So that was a good move. All right. Anyway, go ahead.
And I'll add one more point on that, because I think that's what they're saying about Deshaun Watson. Would it be better off to just eat the contract and release him, get him out of the franchise? Let someone pick him up for the bare minimum salary. But Blake, what say you? Do you think this is Sam Darnold's team? He's led you guys to a really great record. Why never change horses in midstream? They say on Wag the Dog. But you're 9-2. This is Darnold's team. They're not going to hand it to Jones. Or do you believe maybe what Mike is suggesting? Perhaps they're going to make a switch.
I would think it's going to take him at least a month to really get comfortable with the offense. I don't know if he's necessarily better than Darnold at this point, but I think he's a great insurance plan. I think they got Nick Mullins. I think he's a pretty good backup. He can sling the ball around. but I mean, yeah, if they go on a playoff run, that's the main thing that Daniel Jones wanted, was a chance to play for a potential contender. It's a good situation for him, absolutely. But yeah, unless there's an injury to Sam, I really don't see him being on the field at all.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. You never know how it'll shake out. And who knew that the Seattle Seahawks were going to be in first place? Mike Bara. Maybe Mike Bara knew, perhaps. But look, Seahawks get a super crucial win against the Cardinals. That whole division, Mike, has been log jammed at 500, and now you're seeing a bit of a shift occurring, a little sifting of the talent there, and that touchdown interception kind of paved the way on the day.
Yeah, log jammed in mediocrity, absolutely log jammed in mediocrity. Because the Cardinals actually looked like the best team in the division for a while. They played really well the first couple of weeks. They lost a game in Buffalo. They should have won. They played hard. They played good. I thought they were going to come in and give a better effort. But what really happened on Sunday, which was really impressive, is that the Seahawks defense has raised its game. They were terrible in midseason, absolutely worse than even under Pete Carroll. And it was like, what are we doing here? Why did we hire a defensive coach when we don't get anything? And they've played much better. They did a few things. They acquired Ernest Jones, a linebacker from the Tennessee Titans. They acquired another lineman from Jacksonville. I forget the guy's name, Williams or something, who's actually made a difference. So their run defense has improved dramatically. And they ran two guys that they signed at linebacker. They just ran them out of town, cut them, took the kick in the balls and under the salary cap, and just got them out of here. So I think there were some attitude problems. They had the center retired, Connor Williams. There's rumors there was some sort of personal problems, like mental illness going on there. They brought in Olu Oluwatimi, a guy from Michigan, in his second year. And guess what? The center position is suddenly solidified. So, you had that stuff. They do have exceptional wide receiver talent. And Jackson Smith-Njigba just looks terrific after the
warming up. He is just now starting to warm up.
He's their best receiver because right now I think you still need DK Metcalf as a threat to take some of the attention off of Njigba. But the reality is that he looks better than DK. He certainly looks better than the aging Tyler Lockett. Geno Smith, again, one up, one down, makes a play here. He made one really, really excellent throw on a key drive, but then he throws just the worst interception you could possibly throw in the red zone at the 5-yard line. A chance to, late in the third quarter, could have taken a 19-3 lead or a 19-6 lead. Would have been 16-6. Eventually, they would have made it to 19 with the field goal they got later. So, it's an up and down game, but it's an inconsistent division, and the 49ers look like shiz, and the Rams got their butts handed to them. So I guess theoretically, if the Seahawks keep playing at this improved level, especially on the defensive side of the ball, they have a chance to win the division. Shockingly. Amazing.
I know. It's all over the place in that division. Blake, what did you think? I mean, the Cardinals, a lot of talent on that offensive. You got Marvin Harrison on one side, former Buckeye. You got Jackson Smith-Njigba on the other side, former Buckeye. The Ohio State Buckeyes have become wide receiver university. By the way, the game is this week, Buckeyes versus that team up north. With a whole bunch of marbles on the line. That's a whole separate issue. But what say you about these teams? There's a lot of offensive firepower. It was a low-scoring game, but Seattle is now rising to the top here. Can they keep it up?
Yeah, that was an impressive victory. It looked like Cardinals were going to make a move and maybe take the division. I was expecting a high-scoring game. I was looking forward to that. That was kind of one of my prop bets. So they really fell flat. Honestly, didn't get to catch much of that since it wasn't televised in my market. But I did obviously pay attention to the box scores. So that's interesting. And the West is completely wide open for anybody, but it looks like, San Fran doesn't look like much of a threat, but I guess it's anybody over this last month. So it's probably the most exciting division to watch because it could be any one of those four teams at the end.
Yeah, it really could.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what happened in the AFC North last year. I mean, all four teams almost made the playoffs. I think we knocked the Bengals out the last game or second last week, but all made three teams getting it into the playoffs. Let's stay in the same division with the 49ers. They get whooped 38-10. 38-10. I got to zoom out on the screen here. It's not showing me the image I was looking for, but yeah, Josh Jacobs, look, you can say what you want about not paying running backs, but look at the ones that kept their running backs and got rid of them. Saquon Barkley, say no more on the Eagles, and look at how the Giants are doing. Josh Jacobs, he escaped Las Vegas. Look how they're doing. Derrick Henry, he left the Titans. Look how the Ravens are doing. Good running back play actually matters.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this one? Are the 49ers this bad, or are the Packers this good, Mike?
Oh, you're asking me. Okay, the 49ers are this bad. Look, they didn't have George Kittle. They didn't have Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is an excellent quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. Bosa is injured on defense. They're not the same without him. I mean, when he went out of the Seahawks game, the Seahawks were able to move the ball and have enough time for Geno to throw with no problem whatsoever. So they're a thinner team than they've been the last few years, and they've got some injuries, and they were no match for the Packers, as we kind of all expected. And we talked about last week. They just weren't a match for them. And I just see them going down. And Christian McCaffrey, look, he came off his injury, but he's not healed yet. So he's just not there. And he doesn't have that same burst and quickness. So I think, another loss or two, I might sit him down for the rest of the year and bring him back next year and start from scratch, because they're just they're not going anywhere right now. They're not looking good at all on either side of the ball.
And if you look at,
can't kick anything, so it's bad.
Yeah. Well, if you look at Nick Chubb on the Cleveland Browns at running back, he was out. Remember, Minka Fitzpatrick blew his knee out. On the Steelers a couple games into last year, so he's missed about a year, maybe a year and a half. He's back, and he scored 2 touchdowns for the Browns. Let's not forget that in this win against the Steelers, but he doesn't have the same burst. He doesn't have the same speed. He's still getting it. He's still powerful and he's still good, but that yards per carry, Nick Chubb was the best in the NFL history at yards per carry. Some metric at some point, the best to ever do it. And he's doing two something yards a play at this point. So it doesn't seem like he's completely back. But Blake, what do you think about that? I mean, watching Josh Jacobs, you still live in Vegas, but if Jacobs goes over there to the Packers now and it scores 3 touchdowns, and they had really devalued the running back position for a while. Like it doesn't matter. You just draft running backs. They grow on trees. But yeah, I mean, any thoughts on the 49ers injuries piling up? Is it just a matter of the depth and the health being the difference in this game? Or I don't know. There's a lot of different.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to give them an excuse and a pass for this, because without Brock Purdy, without Trent Williams, they couldn't block, they couldn't throw, they didn't have Bosa, they couldn't rush the pass. They were dead in the water there in Green Bay, so that's no surprise whatsoever. But if they were full strength, yeah, it's a different team. But
and historically, the team that loses the Super Bowl most of the time, 65% of the time, doesn't even make the playoffs the next year, much less get back to the Super Bowl. So they're going through that Super Bowl hangover thing. And I think if this trend continues, they're going to miss the playoffs. They're not going to win the division. So, it's just one of those years that these things happen.
Well, let's stick with that division and just kind of roll with it for a second here. Saquon Barkley, franchise record for the Eagles, 255 yards rushing. Dude is on fire. Dare we say an MVP candidate? And I'm sick of giving MVPs to quarterbacks only. I don't think the quarterback is the only doggone important position in football. Now, I know they usually win. See you tonight at W&W.
Kansas City Chiefs fan here. All right, Jenny. See you then.
What's WW?
Whiskey and Wisdom. It's a podcast I did with the original Mark Z at 5:00 tonight Pacific time. So in a couple hours.
I think I did tag you. So I saw something. By the way, if you're not following the X feed for Strictly Football, it's at TNAM Football. TNAM for the New American Media. TNAM Football on X. And we're trying to get ongoing conversations between Mike and I about football events through the Strictly Football.
Let's slide over there to Strictly Football and show it while we're talking. There it is, Strictly Football.
Here, let's. Where are you at? Screen sharing from Mike. Bang!
There it is, Strictly Football. So.
Strictly Football. We're trying out a whole bunch of new logos. I had AI. I sat down with AI for a while. Man, Have you guys tried to get AI to give you an actual image of stuff? And like the weird stuff that they come up with, and they garble faces, garble names. I'm like, I didn't ask for any of this, and it's like intentionally messing with me. Have you guys had an experience with AI yet?
Yeah, I had the worst problem trying to get AI to give me a really good, high quality picture of AOC and Amaranth making out in lingerie, and it just didn't come out right. The hands were all warped.
The hands were all wrong. Blake, have you had similar issues with AI? Because I'm seeing the Strictly Football image there, and I've come up with like 10 different ones, 20 different ones.
Well, there's a lot of degrees of difference between some of the really good AI programs and the bad ones. So it really depends on the quality of the program. I suppose they use different ones. I've had luck with some and not so much with other ones. So I guess it just depends on which one you're using.
Yeah, I've been trying it with Grok lately. But yeah, check out Strictly Football at TNAM Football on X, please. But yeah, back to Saquon. Look, the Eagles are a very talented team. They improved to get this win 37-20 over the Rams, who fall to 5-6. Eagles improved to 9-2. It's just year after year after year, the Eagles are just fantastic. Rams have, look, they've been unhealthy. They're just now coming back, getting more of their players healthy, and maybe they can win several in the last stretch here and fight for a wild card berth. But what do you guys think about the Rams wrapping up this division here? And then anything with the Eagles and Saquon Barkley? Take it away, Mike.
Saquon is the MVP. There's no. I don't think we should even be debating it. Lamar, give me a freaking break. Lamar, compared to what the impact Saquon has had, he's the MVP. He's made a huge difference. The Eagles were middle of the road last year. Now they're 9-2. They're running away with the NFC East. They look phenomenal because of Saquon. 255 yards. My God, did you see the game the other night? He's fantastic, and he makes Jalen Hurts that much better. And they've got some guys they can throw to, and they got a good defense. Although they lost Brendan Graham to a torn triceps, that sucks. But the reality is, I think the Eagles are going to be in the NFC Championship game. I think this season, and it's going to be a really interesting NFC playoffs. And the Eagles I think they have a good chance to go back to the Super Bowl, and it's all because of Saquon. Forget the Lamar stuff. Just go with that fantastic performance, and he just keeps getting better every week.
So. Yeah, and it's so interesting too, because when when players have their breakout seasons, Myles Garrett last season, for example, finally he's been the best defensive player in the league for a couple of years. I remember the same with LeBron. They just wouldn't give LeBron an MVP year after year. They're like, here's a lifetime achievement for Nash. Here's a lifetime achievement MVP for somebody else. But it's like LeBron's been the best year after year. He finally gets it. But when you finally get your MVP, you have like moments that stand out. So last year, Myles Garrett jumps over from a standing jump over the lineman against the Colts to block the field goal.
Yeah.
Like just crowning. You can see that image in your head as Myles Garrett won Defensive Player of the Year. And you see the same with Saquon jumping backward over people. You've never seen that play. I guess Madden added it to their lineup for the video game because they didn't even know someone was capable of doing it.
No, I mean, Seahawks had a great running back named Chris Carson a few years back. He had to retire because of a bunch of neck and shoulder injuries. But there was a play about 4 or 5 years ago where he completely leaped over this guy in mid-run, just jumped over him and kept running like something out of Madden. And I'm like, at the time, that was like, I don't think anybody had ever seen anybody do that before. And it was like, oh my God, that's incredible. And then Saquon does it backwards. He does it backwards. It's like, how do you even think about doing that, much less physically do it? I will be so disappointed if he tests positive for steroids because I just believe it's all Saquon doing that because Saquon to Saquon because he's gone. So phenomenal. And
he is, and he was incredible at Penn State. I got to watch him as a Buckeye fan all the time. And geez, when you see that raw talent, it's something to behold. Blake, thoughts on the Eagles, thoughts on this game, thoughts on Saquon, thoughts on the MVP race?
Yeah, as Mike said, he's a phenomenal athlete. It's an incredible performance, and you get to see him with and credit the offensive line. You see the difference there between the weak Giants offensive line and Philly's dominant, who just, push the Rams around like blocking sleds all night. So they just ran it down their throat. It was interesting. I'm not an Eagles fan, but I got to respect the talent they have. I was a little disappointed. I had a prop bet. I wanted Dallas Goedert to get some yards, but they didn't even have time to throw the ball because they couldn't stop their run.
Yeah. Why throw it when you can just run it down their throats? And again, the Rams, they got Matt Stafford. That's about all they have.
Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Those are, Kyron Williams is good.
They're good players, but they're possession receivers, both of them, and they're not really deep threats. And, if the Seahawks had Matt Stafford instead of Geno Smith, I'd say, hey, we're going to be in that mix for those last 4 spots or 2 spots in the NFC. But, that's the best thing they got going for them. So, thanks for coming, Rams.
Thanks for showing up. All right, let's talk about maybe the team that it's going to run through in the NFC when it's all said and done. The Detroit Football Lions improve to 10-1 on the season, defeating the Indianapolis Colts, sending them back to 5-7. All right. So, Detroit, clearly they are the team to beat. It seems like maybe they're the betting favorite now. I saw that they're the odds-on betting favorite, at least at some outlets, to win this whole thing. Blake, they're in your division. You've seen a lot of Lions teams that don't matter. You've seen some great Barry Sanders teams that couldn't get past Eric Kramer and, whatever reason, they weren't going anywhere particularly. Calvin,
Eric Kramer,
Megatron. You've had some great stuff going on, but never have you seen the Lions put together like this. This is a full team.
Yeah, it's very different the last couple of years. It used to be like, that's our easy 2 victories of the year going against Detroit. Didn't matter, road game, home game. Detroit was a doormat, except for just a few occasional years when they had, Barry Sanders or Megatron or what have you. A few little one and done playoff teams. But yeah, no, they have really built something special there in Detroit. They are the team to beat, certainly. Baltimore's good. Kansas City's just not like blowing people out, but Detroit is blowing people out. I thought this was going to be a trap game against Indianapolis because they got to get ready for Thursday. But no, they still blew Indianapolis out. So, no, they are a phenomenal team. They are the team to beat. I will say that. Even as a Vikings fan, it's hard to believe. I wouldn't say that about the Packers. I hate the Packers too much. But, hey, hats off to Detroit. I hope we can beat them. But, yeah, it would surprise me if they run away with it.
Right. And what I love to do mainly is root for the team and the franchise that has gone the longest without a championship. So I'm kind of pulling for the Lions, one of those old school NFL teams like the Browns who helped invent the league but haven't even been to a Super Bowl since they started the Super Bowl era. It's just it's unfortunate. I'm pseudo rooting for them. Look, 3 rushing touchdowns from Gibbs. Mike, Gibbs and Montgomery, a 2-headed beast for sure over there.
Yeah, great running game. And the guy I feel the most proud of and the happiest for is Jared Goff, because although he's kind of dumb, he didn't know the sun rose in the east and set in the west. We all remember that from the HBO show. But he's come along and he has that first overall pick pedigree. He has the talent. He can make all the throws. A couple years ago when we traded Russell Wilson, I'm like, go get Jared Goff, go trade for him. If the Lions don't like him, let's go get him because he can make all the throws and you can work with that. And it's great to see that he's found coaches that can work with what he does well. And, again, I think the Lions-Eagles is going to be a fantastic NFC championship game. I don't mean to sell your Vikings short, Blake, but I think the quarterbacks are a little better. And the Lions are the best team in football right now. And how much better would they be? They're missing the best defensive player in the league. As far as I'm concerned, Aiden Hutchinson was the best player in the league when he broke his leg. So how much better would they be if they still had Aiden Hutchinson? And I know that upsets you with Myles Garrett, but, the Lions.
Look, there's a lot of great players. Nobody's Myles. That's fine.
Here's the thing, though, that's kind of pressure. That's tough. In 2012, 2013, I knew the Seahawks had the best team in the league, but by far. But that doesn't mean you're going to win it because you had the 49ers breathing down our necks. And we took the amazing Richard Sherman tip play to get us into the Super Bowl. Once we got to the Super Bowl, the Broncos were going to be child's play. But The worst thing I can imagine would be knowing you have the best team and your team doesn't win it. They somehow blow it. So I'm hoping and praying.
Or they somehow blow it by injuries. The 2015 Cavaliers basketball team, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, LeBron James.
Yeah.
We were steamrolling everybody, and then both Kyrie blew out his knee, and then Kelly Olynyk blew out the shoulder of Love, and it's like we still took it 5 or 6 games with Della Vadova and Tristan
that happened to the 96 Supersonics, who should have beaten the 72-10 Bulls, but they had 2 key guys go out with injuries, Nate McMillan and even Scottie Pippen admitted to Nate that we know you guys would have beat us if you were healthy because we were out of gas. And then the same thing too, you have injuries sometimes even in the Super Bowl game. The game the Seahawks lost to the Patriots, 2 key starters, Cliff Averill and Jeremy Lane, go out with injuries, or they probably would have comfortably won that game. And it's like, that's cruel. So you hope that never happens, injuries, or you just make some key mistake and blow it. But I got to be honest. I think I'm rooting for the Lions, because I'm always going to root for the Lions and the Bills and the Bengals and the Browns and the teams that, not the Cardinals, but all those other teams that have never been there. And the Vikings have never won one. They've been to the Super Bowl, but they've never won one. So.
Right. Speaking of cruel, you were saying that Jared Goff isn't all that smart. So I was like, what's that actor from the Barbie movie? Ryan Gosling. He looks so much to me like Jared Goff. Jared Goff could have played the role of Ken in that movie. Maybe they're not really known for being bright. Am I off base there? I always look at those two and think that they remind me of each other.
Or was he Joe?
Was pretty good.
What was he in Joe and Blade Runner 2049? Is that his character?
Yep.
Or something? Yeah. Got to make out with Ana de Armas. I'm always going to be jealous of Ryan Gosling for that.
Fair enough. Hey, just real quick before we bounce to the next one, Indianapolis Colts, Anthony Richardson. He didn't have a great game, but they do seem to be going back to him. I know one of your favorite topics, Mike, is kind of looking at the quarterbacks and how they're progressing. What did you think?
Blake made a great point that it was a trap game. It was almost a trap game. They kept that game very competitive until the Lions sort of pulled away in the third quarter. But Richardson shows flashes. He continues to show flashes. The question with him is selfishness and character, right? Just like Cam Newton. And did you notice Cam Newton's been taking shots at people all week? Russell Wilson. I'm like, they're carrying Russell Wilson. It's like, Cam, give me a break. You couldn't carry Russ's jock strap. Go look at your stats. Go look at his stats, you fucking loser. Anyway.
But how do you really feel on the topic? How do you really feel?
I just wonder about Richardson, whether he's got the character to be a Super Bowl champion, and I don't think that he does. So far, he hasn't shown it. So,
and look, that's the question. People say it about Baker Mayfield. They said it about Jameis Winston. There's a lot of players out there you wonder, and then people like Joe Flacco already have the hardware. It's like, all right, but I mean, like you said, character. There's a way to be inward and to be a professional and to go about your business. Then there's a way to just kind of always be around other stuff, always kind of in things that kind of take you off of the path.
As an example, the defining moment for Cam Newton is the fumble in the Super Bowl against the Broncos, and he doesn't go for it. He jumps back to protect himself. I'm sorry, you put the ball on the ground in the Super Bowl, you throw your body in there. I don't care what hit you. And that just shows you who the guy is. So,
that's a great reminder on that. That I couldn't understand the instinct. I understand an instinct to go after the ball. That's actually what got Baker Mayfield injured. He threw an interception. The receiver ran the wrong route. We cut the guy, Anthony Schwartz. But anyway, it was on the return where Baker ran out to make a tackle, and that's when he blew out his shoulder, and it ruined that last season to the point where the Browns just got rid of him the next year. So, yeah, not having the instinct to dive at a football at the most important moment of your life. I mean, even at your own physical peril, you dive at the ball. Like if you care about the sport, if you love the game of football, you dive at it. All right, well, let's move over to a guy that loves the game of football, despite a lot of people saying, hey, man, maybe you should hang him up. Tua Tagovailoa, 4 touchdowns in this rout of the New England Patriots. Patriots fall to 3-9, and the Dolphins improve to 5-6. It seems like they've hit their floor, and they've found a way to start moving in the right direction now that Tua is back. Blake Wally, what do you think about this one? Dolphins versus Patriots. Patriots young quarterback, Tua often injured, Tyreek having his worst statistical season ever. What's your takeaway here?
Well, yes, Tyreek's he's got something wrong. He's got a ligament in his wrist or something. Like he could easily go for surgery, but he's going to play through it. So he's in pain. Yeah, they have a lot of talent there on Miami, and Tua has been a really good quarterback. He's very accurate. So they put up a lot of points. Certainly they didn't, with the injuries, that's pretty concerning, but he's very brave. He's come back. Now there's also a lot of, interest in Drake May. He's also very talented, but he does not have nearly the skill players that Tua does. So they got worked in this one, but there's certainly, they could build something around him in New England. He's shown a lot of potential to be a star in this league. I think so far it's early, but right. Well, I mean, he was drafted as a top 5 guy for a reason, number 3, I think.
Yeah.
So exciting things for the future. Yeah.
You mentioned Dallas Goedert previously in that Eagles game because I drafted him as a rookie as well. I kept him in my both dynasty leagues. A couple people to keep your eyes on with the Dolphins team. I like Jalen Wright, the backup to Devon there. He's getting almost split carries there, better yards per average for Jalen Wright. I do like him, even though Mostert will cannibalize some of those touchdown opportunities. But I like Jonnu Smith as well. Smith is 9 catches for 87 yards on 11 targets. He's had a couple of good weeks. I picked him up in my Dynasty Football League. A great option at tight end if he's still sitting around. And if not, trade for him. He's coming on hot. And with tight ends, when they lock in with a quarterback and they start finding a rhythm of how they're going to call their plays and they know when to check down and like they get that rapport going, you ride a hot tight end and that can take you big places because tight end has been one of the worst spots to add fantasy football consistency over the past few years. So check out Smith there. Mike, what were your thoughts on this one? The Dolphins are back on track. New England's still young and not all that great.
Yeah, you cannot overstate the value of Tua to the Miami Dolphins. I mean, Absolutely. It's phenomenal the difference he makes. When the Seahawks beat them, they were a shell of a team. They couldn't even get the ball to Tyreek Hill, not even on screens and stuff. It was dismal. Now they look so much better. They look like a real football team, and his impact just goes on both sides of the ball. It propagates everywhere. It propagates spherically, and the whole team is better for Tua being out there. So I don't think Tua is going to quit. I don't think he's going to retire. And I think he's their guy. And unless Jalen Milroe falls into their laps in the draft or something, and they decide to take a shot at the future, Tua is the guy there, and he should be. And he's worth what they're paying him because look at the difference he makes for their whole team on both sides of the ball. I agree with Blake 100% on Drake May. The only thing I'm going to say that's cautionary is we all thought the same thing. We all thought the same thing about Matt Jones the first year and when he looked really good. So you got to be cautious because once again, it's the New England Patriots. But Drake May looks like he has a lot more on the ball than Mac Jones ever did. So, let's see what happens there. I think if you're New England, you got to be optimistic about Mac Jones. You just have to.
Wait, about Mac Jones.
Drake May. You have to be optimistic.
Mac Jones, I just saw he signed somewhere. Where did he go?
I think Jacksonville. He's in Jacksonville, isn't he?
Yeah, he's back up for
Okay. Yeah, that's another team. They drafted a high quarterback. Has Trevor Lawrence really proven he's your franchise guy? They gave him the extension just like they gave Daniel Jones the extension. But now what? I mean, let's talk about the Giants. They gave Daniel Jones that extension, and then where are they now? They're sitting there, not a great team. They dropped to 2-9 on the season. Buccaneers have 4 rushing touchdowns from 4 different players: Sean Tucker, Rashad White, Bucky Irving, and Baker freaking Mayfield. Danny DeVito, a.k.a. Tommy DeVito, he got the start. Not an awful game, but didn't really get much happening there for him. ESPN, they want to make the story that Baker Mayfield mocks Tommy DeVito's celebration. Yes, he has fun with it, but in the after game, the post game rather, they asked Baker Mayfield about, kind of doing his Tommy DeVito celebration. He's like, I like that guy. He's got swag. It was a tribute to Tommy. I like that guy. He's got swag. So, Blake,
Tommy, man.
Yeah, forget about it. Blake, what was your takeaway on this one? The Buccaneers, they've lost both their star wide receivers, and now they're starting to get healthy again with Mike Evans coming back. They're 5-6, trying to fight to get on top of that division. And the Giants are a train wreck. Giants got rid of Saquon Barkley, for God's sakes. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on this one?
I mean, Tampa's very exciting to watch. Yeah, Baker Mayfield's interesting, and of course they do sling the ball out quite a bit. They have a great passing attack, and have been banged up in the secondary, so they usually give up a lot of yards. Although not in this one, DeVito was not very effective, and looks like they're going to switch to Drew Lock next week because he might have a little more upside. We shall see, but yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Baker. And they do have some talent. It's too bad that they lost Godwin for the year, but it's good for them that they got Evans back. So they are a very effective offensive team for sure.
Absolutely. Mike, Bara, what do you give the chances that the playoff team from last year, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like I said, battling injuries, but they're kind of stabilized. You can feel it with the Buccaneers, kind of the same way that you feel with the Dolphins, almost like they had a rough patch, but they survived it. They didn't nosedive, and now they're climbing again. They're getting back to that altitude where they can win the games they know how to win. What's your take on this game?
Well, I love Baker. I wanted them to come to Seattle when we were looking for a quarterback, or we should have been looking for a quarterback after we traded Russell Wilson. Like the fool that John Schneider is, he didn't even think about it. But Baker, the reason I like him is because he's so competitive, and that thing is just like how competitive he is. And that's what you got to love about the guy. He does occasionally try to make throws he can't really make. And that's where he gets himself into trouble. But if you can coach that out of him, and he seems to be getting better at that. He's getting, better touchdown to interception ratio. You got something there, but they got too many injuries. I think they've had too many players they've lost to really make any kind of playoff run. I think they're going to end up right around 500 and probably out of the playoffs. Which is too bad. The Giants, what a complete mess. Who thought Tommy DeVito was better than Drew Lock? Now, I'm not a big Drew Lock fan, but he played in Seattle for 2 years, and he beat the Eagles last year with a last-second drive. And in that game, he was very controlled, very good, and his passing, especially the deep ball, he's very accurate when he has time. If you get him off camber a little bit, forget it. But if you can give him a pocket, he can find guys and he can hit them with darts. And they should have started him last week. I don't know why they started Tommy DeVito.
Well, they might be trying to tank to get the best quarterback available.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. But then why don't you just say that? I don't know.
You kind of can't say it. When I lived through it, Sashi Brown, he emptied all the cabinets out, getting as many draft picks back as possible. I mean, it was miserable to go through. Let alone if you tell people. You kind of can't say it.
I know you can't, but I mean, it's like if that's the case, then why are they talking about putting Drew Lock out there? Drew Lock, at least, is a professional backup level quarterback, a guy that you can get through 2 or 3 games with if your starter is injured. I don't know that Tommy DeVito is that, so I don't know what's going on there with the Giants.
Local favorite.
A local favorite. Well, sometimes as a fan, you get what you wish for.
Yeah. Well, they said in Cleveland for a long time that the most popular position in Cleveland was backup quarterback. I mean, we loved our backup quarterback way more than the starting quarterback because it was always, that guy's not getting it done. That guy, I saw him do it.
Oh, yeah. Sam Howell.
Kelly Holcomb a chance.
Sam Howell's a lot more popular than Geno Smith in Seattle, but come on.
Yeah, fair enough. Speaking of popular, we did a question of the day. Who would you like to see match up in this year's Super Bowl? We got the question from Regina Mitchell saying she wants to see Lions Bills. I mean, I got to say, give me a better lineup than that where whoever wins, the franchise fan base is going to get a huge burden off of their shoulders. I'm here for it. Any other suggestions that are better than Lions Bills? Blake, Mike? You want to see the Vikings, I guess.
Well, I'm very biased on that one. And if I was a normal fan, then yes, I would absolutely support the Bills Lions. However, since the Vikings have not won a Super Bowl,
right.
I don't want to see anybody else that hasn't won a Super Bowl win a Super Bowl. And they're going to be it's going to make us magnify that much more. So
Vikings Bills. How about Vikings Bills? 2 teams that are 0-8 between them in the Super Bowl. That would be something else. So
meanwhile, Browns fans go, "What's a Super Bowl?"
Yeah.
0-8. What's it like? What's it like going to a single Super Bowl?
There used to be an old meme, Dad, it was 2 Eagles, and it said, "Dad, what's a Super Bowl?" And the dad goes, "I don't know, son, we're Eagles." but they solved that problem. So.
Yeah, there was one with the Cleveland Browns, and it was something about getting it. Maybe you could do something, find the joke on Whiskey and Wisdom, but it was something like finding the right partner. Yeah, you want to find a Browns fan because they won't expect a ring. You want to date a Browns fan because they won't expect a ring. Something like that.
If you're gonna date some, I might use that tonight. That's good. Yeah, always find out if she's a Cleveland Browns fan, because then she'll never expect a ring. Yeah.
Please use it tonight. And one of these Whiskey and Wisdoms, I'm gonna jump on for it. It sounds wild. Now who are you showing? That's not Bud Carson. Is that Bud Carson?
No, it's Bud Grant. Yeah.
Oh, I said Bud Grant. I meant okay. Yeah.
Coincidentally, I just happen to have it in the room. I'm looking at it. I'm going, oh, I should display that.
Pete Carroll's mentor was Bud Grant.
That's right. Yeah.
Nice. All right, let's talk about mentors. Some of these established teams, the Cowboys, they like to call themselves America's team. They've been having a lousy season. However, wow, who saw this one coming? The Cowboys haven't really shown us much, and of course, their quarterback's been injured, but they take down the Washington Redskins 34-26. Cowboys improved to 4-7 on the year. Washington falls to 7-5, and the former Cleveland Brown, Austin Seibert, misses an extra point late, and the Commanders lose their third in a row, and then they lose to the Cowboys. So, take it away. What do we think about this one? Starting with Blake, because his eyes got big.
Well, I guess the Cowboys finally won. I did actually hit this bet. I think I only bet about $10 on it, but they finally came through. They've been getting absolutely thrashed. I guess Jaden Daniels maybe still a little bit banged up from the ribs. He's not as mobile. He's not making as many plays. I didn't actually watch too much of this one. The Cowboys are a shell of themselves with all the injuries. So, yeah, a tough loss and a surprise there as the Commanders have looked very good lately, but not on that day.
Yeah, I checked my pick'em, and I did not have this on my bingo card. I definitely thought the Commanders were going to take care of it. Mike, what did you think? The Cowboys are showing some life, and by the way, as a theme here, there's quite a few lousy teams, like in that lower tier of teams. A lot of them picked off some wins. So even though the Browns won, we're still in that top 10, top 6, top 5 territory. Yeah. I want to see all the worst teams win as much as possible so that we can still have a top-notch pick and still be competitive this year. But what did you think?
Well, that game was exciting as hell. 4 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes and overtime of that game. I think there was overtime, or no, it was whatever it was. Did it go to overtime? No,
you had 41 points in the fourth quarter.
Oh my God. And it was like just boom, 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 boom. And there was an
insane amount of points for one quarter.
And then this kick return for a touchdown by the Cowboys guy. I forget his name, but I mean, Turpin. It was Turpin. I gotta share this. We gotta watch this. This is like unbelievable. Let's watch this return. It's like Madden.
That's one of those incredible plays that we used to see Eric Metcalf make.
95. That was phenomenal. And there was another onside kickoff return for a touchdown. And the thing about that is here's the thing that's hilarious. I think he did that because of Madden. You know that you could do the spin thing in Madden, and somehow it just got in his head. Oh, I'm going to do the Madden spin, and he did it, and it worked because nobody really knew where he was going. Absolutely hilariously phenomenal game. So much fun.
You know what that reminds me of is this one. This was from the Buckeyes game over the weekend against the number 5 undefeated Indiana Hoosiers. Check this one out. Buckeyes. Okay, we'll keep the sound turned down here. So they kick it off. All right, I guess they're going to show this. They're breaking it down. But watch from this point on in the Buckeye game. It bounces 1, 2, 3. There's the Madden spin right there.
Yeah.
It does the Madden spin right at the back. And it's like maybe players are finally figuring out that the Madden spin works. Bounce 1, bounce 2, really high catch, Madden spin. Goes down the sideline there.
That
guy's on his feet. He's juked out to...
That was a borderline block in the back there by 38, but I think he got it just in front of the shoulder.
We'll let it slide. But yeah, this is a former Alabama recruit, transfers over to Ohio State. And look, he plays defensive back, but no. He is a kick returner to the stars right there. And the Buckeyes now march into the big game, against that team up north.
And one other thought here, Brian and Blake, is how bad must Trey Lance be if they're not starting him? They went out, they got him, they got him for nothing. He's on the roster, and they're starting Cooper Rush instead. Trey Lance must be fucking awful.
Remember how much draft capital the 49ers gave up. That was the worst trade in sports until the Browns went and got Deshaun Watson. It cost like 3 first-round picks.
3 firsts.
That's what the Browns paid for Watson. That set the tempo for the Watson trade, plus a 4th and 5th and whatever they end up getting. But yeah. So, I want to see more punt returns for touchdowns. I want to see more kickoff returns for touchdowns.
Yeah, the other thing too is
out of the game of football. I want more of that.
We talked about it last week, Brian. Jaden Daniels is injured. He has a rib problem that affects everything, including your throwing motion, how many hits you can take. And they're just not going to play very well until he gets 100% healthy. And I don't know if he'll get there this year because he's just banged up, really banged up.
Well, let's talk about.
Well, we'll talk about the offensive rookie of the year in a minute. When we get to another game.
Offensive rookie of the year. Okay, we'll get to it.
We get to another game. Right.
All right. Well, we'll talk about a team that's been banged up. Isaiah Pacheco, most notably at running back, to the point where the Chiefs signed Kareem Hunt and have been working with him. And look, it took a last-second opportunity there to take down the Carolina Panthers. Panthers dropped to 3-8. Chiefs somehow keep winning. You know, if karma finally caught up to them last week, but they go 10-1 on the season. And it was on a Schrader field goal. They're missing Harrison Butker as well. So the Chiefs are definitely banged up. Blake, start with you. Chiefs keep getting it done. And look, Carolina's showing some fight. They're showing some spark. They don't seem as bad of a dumpster fire as they were last year. But, you know, the experience and the pedigree of the Chiefs wins this one for the day.
Yeah, I ultimately pulled it out. Bryce Young is making strides. So he was benched, and he seems to be looking a lot better and more comfortable. They need another playmaker or so. But, they held their own against the Chiefs. I kind of thought this was, again, another one of those kind of trap games. Even Kansas City is playing Friday. I figured they wouldn't take them too seriously. They didn't cover it. But they're not blowing people out. Their defense is pretty good, but they're beatable. And even Carolina gave them a run all the way to the last minute. So until they got that last field goal, it got pretty exciting there for a minute there. So probably not going to three-peat this year.
Well, we'll see what the NFL script says about that, or script, as a Seattle running back might say, the script club. But yeah, I mean, the beatable Chiefs advanced to 10-1, Mike. But who would have thought that their touchdowns at the beginning of the year were becoming 2 to Noah Gray and 1 to DeAndre Hopkins? That wasn't on anybody's bingo board.
Well, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, who was it? Hercules cut his hair or whatever and lost all of his. Samson lost his superpower.
And Delilah
lost his superpowers because of Taylor Swift. Travis Kelce's just about cooked, and Gray is the next guy up, and he looks good. So go, clearly Mahomes is looking for him, got him the ball, caught the ball, did a good job there. The story of the game, Blake nailed it, is Bryce Young, the development of Bryce Young slowly coming along. But, so it's going to lead to a big dilemma. If you're the Carolina Panthers and you're sitting there staring at Shadur Sanders or Derek Ward or Milroe or one of the other quarterbacks and you really like them, do you pass on them for the offensive guy, for the wide receiver, and stick with Bryce Young? Or do you say, we just don't see it quite from Bryce Young. So he's going to make it difficult for them by playing better, and he's starting to play better, and good for him.
Yeah, I think when you draft a player, there should be a little bit more ride or die with your high draft picks, especially when they show you something, when they give you a little bit of reason to believe. If a team gets a top pick, it's because their team is not good. Mm-hmm. If you go with the guy, give him some more weapons. Give him some playmakers on defense, because if you're stopping him on one side, it helps you get more possessions on the other side. A better offensive lineman, a playmaker at wide receiver, a running back that's dynamic to open it up and move the safeties back a little bit. Like just all sorts of things, linebackers back a little bit.
Right.
That's why, like the Baker, you draft him, you go up, you go down, you have some good years, some not so good years, some injuries, playoff, you beat the Steelers in the playoffs. I don't know. I want cities to ride with their guy a little bit longer because
but you know what?
Not everybody's ready in year one. They're just not.
Here's the thing. If the Cowboys took Troy Aikman and then they got a chance to take, who was it? Steve, what was his name? He's from Miami, but he was actually a better prospect. They used a supplemental draft pick in '89 to take a second quarterback. I forget his name, Steve or Sam something. And they ended up losing out on Cortez Kennedy and Junior Seau the next year because they did that. But they were right to do it because you don't know if the quarterback is the solution. And if you don't know, you may as well take him. And I hear people say, well, you can't draft this guy number one and then bring somebody else in 2 years later because it puts all the pressure on him. Well, look, the goal is to win the Super Bowl. And that
would be Steve Walsh in the first round of the '89 supplemental draft.
And if your quarterback can't handle the competition, I don't think he's going to win a Super Bowl for you. And isn't that the whole point of football? Is to win
By the way,
Super Bowl?
they're drafting '89. Troy Aikman, Steve Wisniewski, Daryl Johnston, Mark Stepnoski, Tony Tolbert. Like they had some players in that '89 draft.
And how is Steve Wisniewski not in the Hall of Fame? What the fuck? Steve, 9-time Pro Bowler. Oh, but he wasn't first team All Pro. Okay. Yeah, so a bunch of East Coast sports writers didn't vote for him. Great.
And by the way, remember the Herschel Walker trade in '89 as well, Blake. You remember that as a
I was trying to avoid that. Yeah, I figured that was coming. Yeah, I think that we pretty much stacked their draft, gave it to him.
By the way, Blake, I completely forgot to mention to you, Blake, when you brought up Paul Allen. I played hoops with Paul Allen. Used to play hoops with him in Bloomington at a gym there. And usually when we would play, I would pick a team and he would pick a team because we were the two oldest guys there. I was in my 30s when I lived in Bloomington, and he was fun. He was just starting to be a sports announcer then. He wasn't the voice of the Vikings or anything. So I kind of knew him a little bit, and I was stunned when I found out he wasn't gay, but he's not. So he was a fun guy to hang around with, and funny because he was just like that personality off the air as he was on the air. No difference.
Oh yeah, the same guy. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we used to pick guys and give them nicknames. I'm going to call that guy Kitna because he looks like John Kitna. He has a shaved head. And he's like, yeah, he does look like Kitna. Let's call him Kitna. So that was fun. I did that a few times. That was great.
Yeah, he was a horse rake. He worked Canterbury Downs over there. So he's used to calling like the horse races. That's how he kind of has his style, and he's still up there with the binoculars at every game. That's just how he calls things.
He's got a lot of personality. I remember when his wife was pregnant, and he comes on and he's doing this commercial, and he says something. He's something like baby's ready to come, wife is in spread formation. Just doing stuff like that. He was hilarious during my time in Minnesota. Anyway.
Oh, no. You talked about Paul Allen, and I actually ended up, this isn't me in this skit, but I did a parody of this, the American Psycho scene, where he says, let's see Paul Allen's card. And this is where they show Paul Allen, vice president. This is the scene that's most often remembered from American Psycho.
Yeah.
That's my Paul Allen thought on that one.
I had a different scene than I remembered, but okay.
Oh, there's a lot of scenes in that movie. That's a wild flick. All right, let's go back to football. Let's talk about two other quarterbacks here. Will Levis, your boy. You love you some Will Levis. And once again, the Titans are going to have to figure out if they're going to be interested in drafting a quarterback in this year's upcoming draft. And look, C.J. Stroud from the Ohio State University, he has taken a couple steps back this year, although he's had to deal with injured wide receivers as well. But look, Tennessee Titans pull off an upset victory here over the Texans. Texans fall to 7-5. Tennessee improves to 3-8. Blake Wally, thoughts on this game?
Well, I guess as a resident of Tennessee now, all their games are televised, so I do get to catch their stuff. Yeah, Levis has a lot of upside. He's been interesting. He really struggled badly in the beginning of the year, but this was a huge win, so I have to be happy for them. I don't know. I know they don't have the same coach. Vrabel's gone, so maybe it's a new regime. I don't know what they're going to do as far as quarterback going forward. I would think you'd want to keep him and try to develop him if they can, but certainly they're going to be in a prime position to draft somebody else if they want to go in a different direction. So we'll see. But yeah, big quality win on the road in Houston. So good for them.
Where did Mike Vrabel go, Blake? Do you remember?
He is an assistant in Houston.
Houston.
I think. Is he? No, it's somewhere.
Cleveland. Okay, yeah, I did see him in that Thursday game. All right. He's got
He's on the sidelines prowling, ready to take Kevin Stefanski's job. Let's not underestimate just how important the victory was. I think they said something like the last 7 coaches that have been fired in Cleveland came after losses to the Steelers. Like we cannot tolerate losing to that. Like the Buckeyes have lost 3 in a row. Ryan Day to that team up north with the cheating Harbaugh system over there. We cannot tolerate it. We will not tolerate it. Mike Vrabel was roaming the sidelines, sniffing around. Am I going to get to snap the neck of Kevin Stefanski and run him out of town and become head coach here? Or should I maybe go to Carolina? Should I go to Jacksonville? Like he's being rumored at a lot of different places. He's one of the biggest names out there. Hell of a coach. But yeah, I think this win probably saved Kevin Stefanski's job. All right, back to you, Mike.
Yeah, this was a big win for Levis. I'm all in favor, by the way, of all of Michigan's wins from last year or last 3 years being voided and making Washington the national champions last year. I'm all in favor of that. I loved CJ Stroud in the 2023 draft, and I really liked Will Levis. And after CJ Stroud was gone, Seahawks could have traded up to the number 1 pick and gotten him. They didn't. I was then my backup plan is Will Levis. They passed on him for Devon Witherspoon. They passed on him for Jackson Smith-Njigba. Both are coming along. Witherspoon finally had a good game this last week. He had a really good game in the win over the Cardinals. So they're both good players, but then they still could have traded up to the top of the second round from 40 up to 30 or 32 or 35 or whatever and gotten Levis. They didn't do it because John Schneider's a loser and a dumbass and didn't think he needed a quarterback. Had they done that, I would be happy Seahawk boy Mike because we would have our future quarterback in place. Look, the guy just keeps coming along. He just keeps coming along. And was it this week or last week that he threw the 98-yard touchdown pass, Levis, out of the end zone?
Will Levis's long in this game was to Chig Okonkwo, 70 yards.
This might have been that game. I don't remember, but he's coming along. He's starting to play better. He still makes a mistake. And it's like when he had the interception, Twitter just starts destroying Will Levis because that's the thing. This guy has all the physical tools. He's big. He's strong. The Tennessee Titans have a future with this guy. He just takes time. At this point in his career, he remains ahead of Josh Allen and Peyton Manning in terms of his development. He's got more touchdowns. He's got fewer interceptions. He's got better quarterback rating. He's got more yards. The guy is learning the game, and I think Tennessee's got a real gem there, a guy that they can build a future around that I wish was a Seahawk. So,
and there's plenty of other positions that could use some upgrading, especially.
Yeah, and CJ, CJ's really struggling, and the offense is struggling. And I don't know their situation well enough to really understand why. I know they've had some injuries on offense and some of their skill guys, and their offensive line isn't very good. But
yeah, if you're looking at fantasy for fantasy reasons, and I am because some of my players have been playing these guys. Tony Pollard, 119 yards and a touchdown on the day, 5-yard average. You're going to want Calvin Ridley. He is their number 1 receiver over there in Tennessee. He's getting a lot of looks. If he's somebody you could pick up for the right price, he's someone you definitely want to get. Also, Tank Dell was just lights out last year until the injury. I drafted him as a rookie. Man, he's getting 5 targets, connecting on 3. He hasn't been able to get back to where he was when CJ was playing his best ball. Nico seems to be the main guy there now, but it's not working for him. And Joe Mixon went off last week, held to 22 yards on only 14 carries in this game. So a little bit of uneven play out of a lot of players from this game last week for sure. Let's talk about somebody who's not really uneven, Bo Nix. Man, this guy has come along. Let me start with you on this one, Mike. I know we'll switch it up here, but you have been a Bo Nix advocate. and he's not letting you down. The Broncos win 29-19, improving to 7-5 on the season, dropping the Raiders into first overall pick territory for Tom Brady, partial owner, to perhaps get Shedeur Sanders with their 2-9 Raiders. But what about Bo Nix in this 10-point win?
Yeah, Bo Nix is there's a guy named Rob Staten who does the Seahawks blog. He's British, but he's really smart, and he scouts players, and he really knows his players, and he's very thin-skinned, so you have to be careful not to challenge him. But he's last year before the draft, he was like, God, if Bo Nix falls to the Seahawks at 16 and they take him, it'll be a disaster, And he said, Bo Nix is nothing more than a third-round pick, and he was crowing about it the first 2 or 3 or 4 weeks in the season. And I said, and I argued with him, I'm like, dude, I just watched Bo Nix down here at Allegiant Stadium, just down the road, and Michael Penix, and I saw 2 first-round quarterbacks there. And I said, first, and I think Rob eventually had him as a top high second-round pick on his board, but I'd been on the Bo Nix bandwagon since I saw that game last year, and now look at him. I think he surpasses Jaden Daniels right now as the offensive rookie of the year. What did he have? 3 or 4 touchdowns last week, or another phenomenal
4
game?
touchdowns last week. 2
this week. High passer rating, which I think is really, really important. And again, you got a quarterback. If you got a quarterback, you can go anywhere. And I just think it's a phenomenal story out there in Denver, and it's turned them into an effective football team. Now, why didn't it happen with Russ? I don't know. Russ is a lot physically more gifted than Bo Nix ever thought of being. Still is at 34, but hey, you got to say it's working now, and that's the story is Bo Nix. And the Raiders, maybe they should have gone up and gotten Bo Nix. I don't know.
Maybe they have a situation now where Gardner Minshew broke his collarbone. He's out for the rest of the year. So you're seeing Desmond Ridder, formerly of Cincinnati, got drafted to the Atlanta Falcons. Then they jettisoned him when they signed Kirk Cousins. You got some weird stuff going on with the rushing game. Javonte Williams, 8 rushes for -2 yards. I mean, I drafted him really high in dynasty leagues, and he's really untrustworthy at this point. I wish he could settle himself as the guy, but he's not. Jacoby Myers at wide receiver. He's, he's the guy you wish that the Patriots would have held on to so that Drake May would have someone to throw it to. 10 catches, 121 yards for the Raiders, but weird rushing over there. 33 yards from a guy, Sincere McCormick, and Amir Abdullah, 28 yards. Like, not getting a lot of stuff done on the ground, and it's weird at the quarterback position now because of injuries. Blake, Tom Brady, he's a co-owner now, and they might have the number 1 overall pick. At least they're primed to be right at the top of that draft, being 2-9 now. What do you think the chances are that they go quarterback? Is there anybody you like in this draft that's coming out, and or just thoughts on the Broncos or Raiders over here? Anywhere you want to take it.
I think the Raiders are the most obvious choice to draft a quarterback. They don't really have anybody with that kind of upside. They certainly are ready. Bo Nix has played very impressive. Of course, off to a slow start, but that's to be expected with the rookie quarterback. And he doesn't really seem to be surrounded with that much talent. I mean, he's been a good receiver, but for him to do what he's done with mediocre playmakers around him, that's also very impressive, and a tribute maybe to Sean Payton. I guess he just got along better with him than, say, Russell Wilson. I don't know exactly what happened there. That was a surprise, but they've exceeded expectations, and they will probably be go for that 7th spot in the playoffs there in the AFC. So Denver, very impressive with great defense. Raiders not looking too good. I took a really tough beat on that one. I had the Raiders plus 5.5. And they had the ball at the 1 yard line at the very end of the game, 1st and goal from the 1. And then they got sacked, and it was over. And I was like, damn it. That was like a 5-team parlay that I had. That would have changed everything. But, oh, well. The bad beats in Vegas. What can you do?
I think Sean Payton's job in Denver was to try to provoke Russell Wilson into an outburst that they could use to void his contract. That's actually what I think. I don't think it was just that's what they hired him to do. And, it it was so they deliberately designed an offense to frustrate him rather than utilize what he does well. But I want to do that Will Levis pass I was talking about that was actually against your Vikings 2 weeks ago, Blake, and I just wanted to remind people of that. This is like
from the 90, that's a 98-yarder.
Going to work on third down. Levis taking a shot. He's got Westbrook Akine breaking free.
Yeah, that's brutal.
And the Tennessee Titans right back in it. One of the better pass rushers in the league going to work on third down. Levis taking a shot. He's got Westbrook.
From your own end zone.
I mean, I realize that's one read, right? He looks up the sideline, sees the guy one-on-one and throw, but you can't throw it any more perfect than that deep. And it was 40 or 50 yards downfield, just phenomenal throw. So that's the upside of Will Levis.
Absolutely. To your point on Sean Payton and Russell Wilson not getting along that well. I mean, I think we had a similar situation in Cleveland with Kevin Stefanski and Baker Mayfield. It turned into a relationship that was unpleasant. Like there were problems. And I do still blame Stefanski for not double teaming TJ Watt. Like he wanted to see Baker Mayfield get hit 5 times, sacked, just almost like he wanted to see him get hurt. So it got toxic there, and Baker lost that power struggle. And by the way, talking about bad beats, Blake's bad beats. Ooh, there's a great segment. Blake's bad beats. Every week I want to hear Blake's bad beats. You're going to be the sports guru guy. We're going to get you on you're going to be on Barstool along with the Unhappy Hour. You're going to be all over with Blake's bad beats. But I was playing in my fantasy football league. This is a league where I have been 0.4 points away from winning the championship. Tony Gonzalez needed 1 reception, 1 yard. He needed 0.4, and we end up losing by 0.4. We trailed with everything remaining by 0.6 points in this game. The Baltimore game a couple days ago, and it was Justin Tucker. They score. Great. We're going to get our extra point. We're going to win this game. They go for the 2-point conversion. So they go for 2. I don't get my 1 point from Tucker. Finally, after that, he got his one chance to redeem himself, and he did. But I mean, I was pulling my hair out. It's like, just kick the extra point. We win this because we are at the verge of the playoffs, getting back into it. It's been a tough slog all year for this fantasy team, and we've missed the playoffs a lot of the past few years. And I was on the verge of one of the worst bad beats in fantasy football history, going for the 2 point instead of just kicking the 1. But they redeemed themselves.
That's good. I feel your pain, man. It's that's why I can't bet too much money, $10, $20.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd go insane when you get those bad beats like that. Yeah, I lost one of those ones. It might have been on that Chargers Ravens game. J.K. Dobbins, the Ohio State guy. I had him for 60 yards, and I think he got 59 total, and it just destroyed my ticket. That's where it was. I had like $400 or something that I would have had. I had like a huge prop bet. And it was a high scoring game that I wanted. And yeah, J.K. Dobbins ran for 40 and then receiving for like 19 or something. 1 yard short of like $10 into 400. I was pissed, but what can you do?
That is brutal. Well, let's talk about that game. The Ravens edge out the Chargers in the Harbaugh Bowl. Ravens improved to 8-4 on the year. Chargers dropped to 7-4. Mike, what did you think about this one? This was a close game. Herbert got it done. Ladd McConkey had a nice game. Derrick Henry doing Derrick Henry things, but yeah, Ravens pull it away.
Well, first of all, just to go back to the Russell Wilson, Sean Payton thing, if you can't get along with Russell Wilson, it's you're the one with the problem, not Russ. He's a guy who shows up early for work, works his ass off, in fantastic shape, team player. You're the one with the problem. Justin Herbert just doesn't do it. He just doesn't win big games. And no matter how much talent he has, he just doesn't win big games. And Lamar wasn't very good, but the Ravens were much more physical. And Derrick Henry pounded the rock down their throats. And Big John is now 3-0 against Little Jim, and is kind of beating up on his little brother there a little bit. So I don't know. I mean, a good game, entertaining game, but Lamar didn't look that great, and I was not really surprised. I just felt like the Ravens were the more physically imposing team, and that's what ended up, I think, happening, was that they were just a little too tough for the Chargers. Chargers are going to be a good team, but Harbaugh needs to build it. So, and then, then it's going to come down to, well, how good is Justin Herbert really? And I to answer that question, I don't really know.
We're all kind of waiting to see. I mean, he seems to have the physical tools, but has he been able to really put it all together yet?
Right.
Not so much. Blake, when the Ravens stole the Cleveland Browns franchise in the mid to late 90s, they became another team in the NFL that are rocking the purple. I know you took that personally, but what do you think about the Ravens' victory here over the Chargers in general?
Yeah, I mean, they're a legitimate team, and the Chargers are also doing really well, and they got a new era and a new philosophy. The other Harbaugh, I'm already getting confused already. Jim and John, but it's interesting transition. It was fun to see the Harbaugh Bowl, I suppose, exciting game. But they're both playoff teams, and I mean, the Ravens are, they're a legit team, and they're going to be a tough out. So we shall see. Our Chargers always seem to do something stupid, but maybe with a different coach and a different mentality, different schemes, they will turn the corner. So they didn't really beat themselves like they have before. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, it's all good. All right. Well, let's go ahead and pivot from there to our picks of the week. We're going to get betting tips now. Super excited for this part. All right, Mike Bara. One of these days, you're going to get our gambling guru to join us.
Yeah.
It's been rumored Jim Mitchell and his dog.
Jim's got some computer issues, but this is what he's got for this week on betting tips, and it should be some pretty interesting stuff here. Bears Lions is where it starts. Bears are 11, 20, and 26 straight up. They're 3-19 straight up on the road. Lions are 32-9 straight up in their last 41 games, 33-11 against the spread indoors. I think everything there says take the Lions over the Bears at home on Thanksgiving. Giants Cowboys. Giants are 10-8-1 straight up. They're 1-15 straight up on Sunday. Cowboys are 13-1 straight up against the Giants when they average 17 points a game. A lot of good, interesting stuff there. The Giants are 19-10 though against the spread, so it kind of looks to me like it'll be a game where the Cowboys should win, but the Giants will cover. So that's interesting information. Dolphins Packers. Tua is 1-8 straight up in 50-degree or less weather, so it may be cold there. Dolphins are 8-19 against the spread. 1-13 straight up versus teams with winning records are the Dolphins winning records. So I don't think it looks good. But this is an interesting stat, and the one I think is the most important is teams that play the Santa Clara 49ers are 13-28 straight up the week after. So the Packers played them. So it looks like there's a chance there could be an upset here, but I really think you got to take the Packers at home. But we'll see. They're given 3.5 points. Raiders versus Chiefs. Chiefs are 13-point favorites. Mahomes is 33-5 straight up against the AFC West. Double-digit favorites are 5-2 against the spread and 6-1 straight up this year. Raiders are 9-6 against the spread. Gardner Minshew, that doesn't matter. Gardner's not going to play. So dogs of 6 or more points are 33-20 against the spread. I think it kind of says take the Chiefs in that one. Titans, Redskins, and we do always call them the Redskins. Titans are 2-9 against the spread. Chargers, Falcons. Cousins is 3-12 straight up indoors. Kirk Cousins.
Kirk.
I think he means indoors on the road because that's not true at home. But 3-12 in his last 15 straight up indoors probably means on the road.
All of his, Kirk was
he was
Falcon Dome and then the Viking Dome.
Yeah, so I think that means probably on the road.
Okay.
Steelers, Bengals. Bengals getting 2.5. Steelers are 25-9-2 as a dog against the AFC North, and Burrow is 17-7-1 against the spread after a loss. do with that what you will. Colts, Patriots. Wow, a game I really don't want to watch. But teams that play the Lions are 1-6 straight up and 0-7 against the spread the week after. That would be the Colts. So keep that in mind as you make your picks. Cardinals, Vikings. Kyler Murray is 19-8 against the spread on the road. The Vikings, NFC North is 23-11 against the spread against non-divisional opponents. The Rams and the Saints are 3-8 straight up against playoff teams. And the Rams, I guess, were a playoff team last year. That'll be a game that you can pick them and you can get some separation there. Eagles, Ravens, Lamar Jackson is 19-6 straight up in his last 25. The Ravens are 91-29 straight up at home as the favorite. That's pretty good. Lamar 19-25 against the spread at home. 23-1 straight up against the NFC is Lamar Jackson.
Wow.
8-1 straight up against the NFC West. That kind of points to the Ravens, but we shall see. Chargers are 1-4 versus teams with winning records. That's Jim's wife's Regina's account, but I suspect that's Jim actually chiming in there. Chargers are 1-4 against teams with winning records. The Santa Clara 49ers versus the Bills. The Bills are 7-0 straight up after a week off. They're 6-1 straight up against the NFC and 9-4 straight up against playoff teams. All that points to a Bills victory. Browns, Broncos. Broncos are 14-20 against the spread when it comes to the Vikings. And those are Jim Mitchell's and his Corgi Lucy's betting tips for the week. What do you think about those?
Nice. Now, Mike, did you say you're going to join them for fire roasted pizzas?
Yeah, for Thanksgiving tomorrow. No pizza. It's going to be Thanksgiving.
Turkey pizza?
Regina is going to not make turkey pizza. No, she's
hold
going to make
on. Whoa, guys, hold on a second now. Wait a minute. Now, hold on. Now, wait. We could make a Thanksgiving pizza. You could have like some stuffing.
It could be done.
Some gravy.
And it would still be better than putting pineapple on any pizza.
I love pineapple. I will, Blake. You're both anti-pineapple.
You're sick. Brian, you're sick.
Awful.
You're sick.
I'm sick like a fox.
And Mike was my witness. The only person that has ever seen me eat pineapple pizza was Mike Bara.
That's right.
Yeah, that was in North Carolina.
At Beer Dogs, which is now underwater, I think. But yeah, they tried. Blake did try it there and was like, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah.
Well, I would try a Thanksgiving pizza. I'm actually looking forward to it. Blake, now are you able to make your picks for the week? We saw our picks of the week from Jim Mitchell. Thank you for all of those. And Blake joining us for a full show. We're like, Blake, you need to get in on this pick'em action, sir. Let's see what you're made of. Let's see if you can pull up the screen. We've been going 13 weeks now. I had a good week. Mike, of course, has a better week. But regardless,
I wish they would wait. That's the only issue I have with them.
Straight up, they're just.
Can you share this screen or no? We're just picking straight up.
Let me see if I can get this. Okay, I guess this.
There we go. There we go.
Okay, yeah, they should give you like bonus. It should be like on the money line always. That way you don't win as much if you're taking a heavy favorite, and you win a lot if you're taking the underdog. They should definitely balance that out. Maybe a suggestion for next year if there's a way to do that. So we're just going straight up on these. So I'm going to go do a quick run through. Do I just go through all the teams? All right.
Yeah, normally we talk about it and then click them in real time. It looks like maybe you pre-clicked, but walk us through the why. A quick thought on the game and why you reached the conclusion.
I mean, I just made these picks like in a 2-minute flurry before the game or before our show.
Beginner's luck. It's a thing, man. I've seen it over and over at a poker table.
Right. All right. Well, I think it's easy. The obvious choice there, Detroit at home, Thanksgiving against Chicago. That should be a lock as far as just straight up goes. And New York, the Giants at Dallas. I think the Giants are going to come back. I mean, Dallas is coming off the high, off of an upset victory. New York, they were criticized even by their own teammates for playing soft. So I think they'll respond and they'll beat Dallas. I might change my pick now, given the trends there from Jim on the Miami at Green Bay.
Nothing is locked in until you speak it into existence. Feel free to
You can
Right.
still change it. Yeah, you can click on it and change it if you want, but that's you. That's up to you.
We'll run with the original pick. Why not? I think Miami's ready to play a little bit of spoiler, and maybe they'll do something. I mean, I don't trust Tua now in the cold games. It's going to be a cold game in Green Bay. I just looked up the weather. I think 32 is the high, so it's going to be a little below freezing, but perfectly fine for football weather. Green Bay probably will win, but I'm taking Miami with the spread. Kansas City with hosting Las Vegas. Yeah, I think it's going to be a revenge game. I know Las Vegas embarrassed them last year, so I think they're going to come roaring back. They're prepared for that one to dominate, and they're certainly going to be in trouble playing. I don't know if they're going to be doing Aiden O'Connell if he's coming back from injury, or if they're going to be playing Ritter. But either way, I think they're going to get flattened there. Minnesota, with Minnesota hosting Arizona, yeah, I think they're going to win that one. Arizona's going to be a tough out. Should be a good one. Houston to beat Jacksonville. Yeah, I think they're going to bounce back and go after. I think Jacksonville's probably given up on the year, so they're going to be. I don't know if they're going to put much fight into them. How about New England? Yeah, I think they can pull off a victory against Indianapolis. I do like Richardson, but he's got a lot of growth to do, and they've got a soft defense. I think New England pulls out a close victory at home. I'll give Kirk Cousins and the Falcons the nod in another close game at home, coming off a bye. I don't know. That's a coin flip right there. Chargers could certainly pull that off. But I'll take Atlanta in that one. There's another one I should probably switch: Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Pittsburgh really is great at pulling off those close underdog games on the road.
Unless they're in Cleveland.
Huh?
Unless they're in Cleveland.
Yeah, they did not get it done there. Well, they were a favorite, though. They were a favorite. So I think as an underdog, if they are an underdog in that game, and I haven't looked at the spread, so maybe I'm wrong. That's going to be a really close one, really good big AFC battle there. I guess I'm just taking Cincinnati in that one. We'll take it. Coin flip. Seattle at New York. I know New York's coming. They got to buy. They're fresh, but God, they look terrible. Don't like the coach. I think Aaron Rodgers looks old. I think Seattle can pull that one off. What else do we have? Tennessee at Washington. I think Washington will bounce back. And take that victory after the embarrassment against Dallas. Rams at New Orleans. That's a tough one. I do like the Rams. They do have some good playmakers. I like the Cooper and Puka Nacua and Stafford.
Puka Nacua. It means don't worry.
Right. So New Orleans doesn't have that much firepower. So I'll take the Rams there. Carolina, I think maybe I'm going to give them another upset there, if you can call it that, against Tampa. I know Baker's going to put up a lot of yards, but their secondary is questionable. I don't even know what the spread is in that one, but I'm going to take Carolina to pull off a small upset at home. Where we got Ravens. Man, that's going to be a game of the week right there. Eagles and the Ravens. I will look forward to that. And
by the way, Blake, you were asking, the spread is Tampa Bay giving 5.5.
Oh, okay. So 5.5, they got to win in Carolina.
Yes. And hello to Kathy E. She says hello to all three of you men.
Hello.
Oh, hello. It's great to have you. I like the over the best in that one against the spread. Yeah, I'll still take Carolina and the points. They got it done against Kansas City, and I think they could cover there. Whether they win straight up, I took them. I'll roll with it. Baltimore, yes, they have a lot of weapons. That's going to be such a good one. I don't know. Well, I'll roll with Baltimore. Buffalo easily over San Fran, still banged up. Hostile environment. I think Buffalo gets that done. Prime time Sunday night football looks like. And then Denver, yes, has been playing very well. Great defense. I think it's going to be an interesting one to watch there. But, yeah, I think Denver gets it done against Cleveland. No offense, Brian.
No offense taken. No offense taken, and no offense when you picked against the Seahawks either. In the chat room, Puka Nacua. It means
No, I picked the
worry
Seahawks.
for the rest of your days, says Captain.
Right.
Hakuna Matata, Puka Nakua, same doggone difference. Blake, this is your initial pick'em week. How you feeling about your picks? You feeling strong? Would you put a couple bucks down on this?
I will, but I usually bet against the spread unless the money line's close or I got a good feeling. But I'll definitely be doing my usual picks and parlays and all that. And my player prop bets, not promoting gambling, certainly not.
We need to get a sponsor. We get a sponsor. We can.
No, absolutely not. I don't know.
Yeah,
if I
I'll
can do
talk
that.
to Suncoast Casino up the street and see if they can sponsor us, right?
Let's go. Chop it up.
Suncoast logo. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'll wear the Suncoast hat. What do I care? Hate a man, you know?
It's fun for me. It's one of my guilty pleasures. That's always one of my favorite things to do when I lived in Vegas was just, even the last few years I lived there, just go to my local casino, filling out the cards. They usually give you free drinks for the gambling, and that was the perfect way. Get a Bloody Mary, start putting my picks in up to the betting window. But now I can just do it on my phone. It's so much easier now.
Oh, it's so much easier. And I've never been much of a gambler, and I don't intend to be. I was always taught at a young age they don't build all those high rises in Vegas off of the winners. There's a reason that they're playing the game in the house.
Mileage out of it. You waste money in the slot machine, you'll be eaten alive. They'll take your money so fast it'll be gone in minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas football game, you can get 3 good solid hours of entertainment out of that 10 or 20 bucks.
Right.
Or whatever.
That's right. And that's why I like to play blackjack, Blake, when I do gamble, because usually, unless you have a really bad streak, you can play 2 or 3 hours. And I'm like, well, okay, so I lost $400, but would I paid $400 for a 3-hour show in Vegas? Sure, it's just entertainment. I got to drink the whole time and talk to some pretty girls, and there you are, right?
Yeah,
Where are your favorite places to watch games? Blake, you're in a new area. I don't know if you have a spot. Mike, do you have a favorite spot to?
Suncoast up the street just completely redid their sports book with just these gigantic screens, and everything's up to date and high tech, and that's pretty cool. And it's a mile away, so right now that's my favorite. But who knows what other possibilities there are? There's always it's always something.
There's some great spots in Vegas that can have some amazing promos or food and screens everywhere.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends. I remember a couple years the Rio had like a really fancy setup when they had all the food out there. Like they go all out. So you just gotta find the right ones. But yeah, tons of places to watch a game.
I mean, I've done I've done all sorts of places. It was like 30,000 square feet. Hollywood Billiards. It was right on Hollywood. Right off the 101. And I mean, it was upstairs, downstairs, indoor, outdoor. And it was like couches and like living room setups everywhere. And they'd have big logos. So you'd walk in and just wander and go, oh, the Cardinals are there because there's big logos on and everyone kind of had it. It was just such a nice way to watch the games. I've done B-dubs plenty of years in different cities. I'm liking Twin Peaks now, over 100 screens right there. And I have a lot of conversations with everybody at the bar. Like I'm meeting good people, having good conversations too.
The food is shit at Twin Peaks, but who cares?
I'll tell you what, the pot roast is incredible. The pot roast is actually
well. If I ever find my way back to Twin Peaks, I will try the pot roast.
All right. So not a sponsor yet, but hey, I'm listening. Give me a call. All right, Mike Bara, you had a week last week. Blake has no history. You have an impeccable history. I wanted to lead with, look how good I did last week. Maybe my best week ever. Mike's like, yawn. I crushed you again by a couple of games.
Yeah, I was 10-3 last week. Wow. I'm 119-60 for the season. This is all straight up, not against the spread. But if you bet $20 on if somebody bet $20 on every game that I picked this year, just straight up, no points, you'd be really well off right now. Not even any parlays necessarily. I'm just going to pick the exact same games that Mike Bara does, and here's $20 on each of them. You'd be doing really well. Probably it wouldn't work.
Let me time out and ask one question there because I don't gamble much. I know that there are spreads on the games. That's what the action going.
Yeah.
Can you place a really wide margin? Can you place straight up bets without like does it just change the odds or
absolutely
do it?
Yeah, you can place.
You're not going to win much. I mean, if you're betting on a heavy favorite to win,
right?
You might not get much at all. You might have to put like $100 to win, $20.
But you'll win. You know?
Yeah, most of the time you'll win. If you get a major upset, yeah, you'll really get screwed.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I figured that's the case, but like I said, I don't have the apps.
Well, if you're 119-60 like I am, you're gonna make at least a grand or so probably out of that. Even if you're only
like almost double. You're
winning.
one away from double, Mike. So
Yeah.
walk us through what you think, or do you want to show us what you did last week? And
I just want to show off last week. I'm 119 and 60 for the season. So let's slide up to week 13 and get our picks in for this week. Okay, Chicago, Detroit, no brainer. Detroit is the better team. They're at home. It's tomorrow, short week. Caleb Williams will probably, I hope, put on a show, but they're not going to win the game. I think that's the early game, unfortunately. I wish it was the midday game. New York at Dallas. Also, this is the midday game. New York is just a mess. I got to take the Cowboys at home. Miami and Green Bay, probably the most entertaining game of the day. I don't like Tua on the road in cold weather, so I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers. Kansas City and the Raiders. Again, pretty easy to pick that one. Chiefs over the Raiders. They go to what? 10-1, 11-1. Arizona, Minnesota. This will be a tougher game than you think, but and it depends. This could be a factor. If Sam Darnold is shaken by them signing Daniel Jones, there might be a problem. There might be a chance for an upset there. Having said that, I want the Vikings to win. I'm going to root for the Vikings to win, and they're at home, so I'm going to take them. Jags and Texans. Jags played the Texans close the first time they played them, but Houston needs to get themselves back on track. I think they're going to do that and focus this week. I think they beat the Jags, who are just terrible. Indianapolis, New England, Drake May versus Anthony Richardson. It's a road game, but I like Anthony Richardson playing better than Drake May and winning that game for the Colts because he can make plays with his legs. Falcons, Chargers, a tough game. The Falcons really have to have that game, but I'm going to pick the road upset. Even though it's a 10 a.m. game, I'm going to say I think that Jim Harbaugh has the Chargers ready. They go in and they're physically more imposing than the Falcons and knock them off. Another road game. I'm taking Pittsburgh over Cincinnati. Why? Cincinnati's 4-7. Deep down in their hearts, they know their season's over. They're not going to the playoffs. I think the Steelers are probably PO'd that they lost the snow globe game, and Russell is Russell. So I'm going to take Russ to lead the Steelers to do just enough for them to beat Cincinnati in a tough game. All right, Seahawks, Jets. This is a 10 a.m. game for the West Coast team. That is always something to be concerned about, but the Seahawks have played pretty well in some 10 a.m. games. The Jets are dismal. Aaron Rodgers can always hurt you, but I see no reason to think the Jets are going to get on a winning trend. Seattle's won 2 in a row. Let's say the momentum continues. They win 3 in a row. Tennessee and Washington. I'd like to go with my buddy Will Levis, but I do think it's time for the Redskins to bounce back and for Jaden Daniels to have a better game at home. So I think they win that game. Rams and Saints. Logically, the Rams are a little bit better than the Saints. The Saints, however, have played fairly well at home. I think they come up with another good game at 10 a.m. And, that's an afternoon game. But I still think they come off and beat the Rams, who I think start to go into a little bit of a spiral. Tampa Bay at Carolina. Carolina's just not that good. I think Baker and Tampa need that win really badly. I think Todd Bowles and Baker get it on the road. I'm picking a lot of road teams this week. Ravens, Eagles. Logically, this is I want to pick the Eagles, but 2 road wins in a row. Very physical game. I got to take the Ravens to be just that little bit better at home. 49ers, Buffalo Bills by a mile. They're going to crush them. Broncos, Cleveland. I hate to bet against your Browns, but I like Bo Nix, and it's at home and it's at high altitude. I think I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos, and those are my picks for this week.
All right. No, I like those picks, and I'll tell you why. There's 7 differences between what I'm about to do and what you just did. So if you look at what we got here, week 12, I was 8-5.
That's a good week.
A good week for me. Of course, Mike up that by 2 games. He did a little bit better. See, I actually picked against the Browns. I went with Schittsburg just because I had to break up. I'm
told
obviously
you.
rooting for my team.
I told you that Mike Tomlin was 0-7 on the road on a short week against a divisional opponent, and you didn't trust me. And look what happened.
But this is also like I drank Dr. Pepper last week, and when we won the game, I wore my lucky blue socks last week. Like I got in my head on this one. I overthought it. If I pick against us, maybe we'll win. And doggone it, that happened. I'm not doing it this week, though. I'm in it to win it.
Brian, if you were a handicapper, you'd be fired already. That is atrocious. 84 and 90. If it was against the spread, it'd be fine. But wow, straight up, that is dismal.
Well, watch it.
Week two, we were both 8-8, and that's the only week he's beaten me. But Blake, if I was really betting these games, I'm sure my record would be terrible. It's just probably, spiritually, the fact that I'm not actually betting these games that I'm being so successful. So it's just one of those things.
Never know. That was a pretty impressive record. So,
but don't be dumb, people. Bet the way Mike bets.
Well, I think I got you this week. I got 7 differences between what you're picking and what I'm doing. I'm going to go with Detroit. I am really tempted to do this the opposite. I think 10-1, you can get really full of yourself. You know what? I'm doing it. I'm going with the Bears, and I'll tell you why. I think the Lions are sniffing their own farts. They're national prime time. Like, they got everything going for them. And it's as soon as you start to believe in yourself, as soon as you think you're all that and you start reading the headlines, you lose a little bit of focus. The Bears haven't had it all together this season, but you know what? They got really close. They played a super tough game last week against, arguably amongst the cream of the crop of the NFC, and they almost got it done. I think they're going to get over the hump. I think this is the breakout game for Caleb Williams. You're going to see a lot of scoring indoors. So I'm going to go with the upset there. I'm going to go.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I remember when the year the Seahawks won a Super Bowl in 2013, I got to go to one game that year. The game I picked was like week 15 against the Cardinals. The Seahawks only needed one more win out of their last 3 games to clinch the division and home field advantage. And they just didn't show up to play that day. And the Cardinals came in really determined and just ran the ball relentlessly. And I went to the one game at home the Seahawks lost the year they won the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's me. So I get it. I get what you're saying. I think there's some validity to that.
I
take the points, Brian, but straight up, it's all good.
We're gonna find out. And I'm a Lions fan. I'm pulling for them. But I've got some of those Bears on my 4 different fantasy football teams, and you're kind of waiting for them to figure it out. Keenan Allen and Odunze, and they have talent on that team. So anyway, I'm going with that upset. I'm going to pick the Cowboys over here. New York is in free fall mode. They're trying to get their quarterback with the number 1 overall pick, sitting at 2-9, battling Vegas for that. So I'm going to pick the Chiefs there. This is a super interesting one here. Dolphins and the Packers. Dolphins, Packers. You never want to pick against Green Bay when the weather's going to be lousy. But once again, I'm going to go with the upset here because I think the Dolphins are finally putting it together at the right time of year. They've hit their bottom. They didn't nosedive. They've stabilized. And I think you're going to see a coming out party for Tua. They're going to have some good running on the day. And I think Tyreek Hill is going to have himself quite a day. I don't think they're a 5-6 team. I think they're better. They just had to suffer through some injuries. I'm going with the upset over there. Arizona versus the Vikings. I'm going Vikings. I don't know. I think the Vikings are 9-2 for a reason. Definitely. Houston, we've had a problem with this team all year, but they're not going to be in the 2-9 category with the Jaguars. They're going to get this done. All right. I think here's where we start to separate ourselves. I am going to go with the Patriots because of the lousy weather. The Colts are a dome team. New England, they just have the pedigree. Sure. The fans are used to it. It's an intimidating environment. It's going to, this time of year, the weather matters, Mike.
Yep. I think that's true. I think that I wish I'd thought of that, but go ahead.
So I'm going with that there. And I think Atlanta coming off of the break, they're going to be well rested. Look, the cheater Harbaugh over there with the Chargers. Look, they are a talented team, but Mike, you said it right. Like, Herbert doesn't get the big games won. Kirk Cousins is elite, wouldn't you say, Blake? Having ran your team, the Vikings, for several, he's elite.
He's a good guy, and he puts up a lot of yards. He fills the stat sheets. I root for him, but he does also throw terrible interceptions at inopportune times.
It happens. It happens.
Very capable. You have a chance to win with Kirk.
Yes, every game you have a chance. And, by the way, I wish there was a way to quantify stats that, like, if Joe Flacco airs it out 40 yards, 45 yards downfield, and it's an interception at the 22, can we just call that a punt? Like if it's on third down, especially, oh my God, he threw an interception. He's the worst quarter. It's like, you're going to punt it. Why not give yourself a 50-50 ball to come down with it? Opportunistic, strategic interceptions, I don't have a problem with. But like you said earlier, Mike, when you're throwing an interception in the red zone, you're costing your team an instant 3 points right off the bat, and those add up over the course of a game.
Yep.
So anyway, I think Cousins and the Falcons are going to get it done. And by the way, I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals. They know how to play in this weather. Not that the Steelers don't. But I do not believe that the Bengals are a 4-7 team. Yes, their record says that they are. But Joe Burrow's had himself quite a season after that first game where Jamar Chase was angry about his holdout, not getting his contract extension. Burrow has balled out. Chase is the number one receiver in the NFL. And I think the Steelers are a little shook. I think the Browns punched him in the jaw, and like the jaw punch we were waiting for Tyson versus Paul that never came.
Yeah.
I think that the Steelers just got punched in the jaw. They got beat by a team from Ohio, and I think they're going to get beat by another team from Ohio back-to-back in the elements. I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals there. Seattle at New York. Man, I am so tempted.
Well, New York is bad, but Seattle's not good. It's at 10 a.m. It's East Coast. It's on the road. Take the Seahawks out.
I'm going with the Jets. I'm going to be the perfect contrarian to all of these last batch of picks. The talent surrounding this Jets team, they should be putting up more points than they have been. Maybe it's a matter of getting everybody on the same page and just figuring it out. I just can't believe that they're not going to get it done, although Jackson Smith and Jigba really is coming on at the right time for you guys, kind of carrying the load. I'm going to go with the Jets in the upset pick. Can't do that with Tennessee. Yes, I will. I'm going with Tennessee. I liked Will Levis. Washington, like you said, he's got that tweaked rib. He's not the same quarterback. He's throwing the interceptions. He's not closing the games out. And Will Levis is ascending, whereas Jaden Daniels is kind of plateauing and dropping down. You're catching one guy coming up and one guy coming down. This is the midpoint where they say hello to each other. And I'm going to say the Titans are able to elevate. I don't share your optimism, Mike, on this one with the Saints. I think the Rams are the better team, and they will prove that against New Orleans. Tampa Bay, Carolina, I'm going Baker and the boys. It's huge having Mike Evans back. And, geez, 4 different running backs or 4 different players scoring rushing touchdowns for Tampa Bay. I mean, they're known as a throwing team. If they're also a running team, good grief, watch out. All right, Philadelphia, Baltimore. This really is a coin flip. I don't know what the line is on this game. It is in Baltimore. You never want to bet against an AFC North team rocking a home game in late November. However, I think the Eagles really are the better team in this one, so I'm going to pick the Eagles there. San Francisco, Buffalo. The 49ers, as Mike so eloquently said, they're dinged up. They're an injured team, and they're 5-6 at that. And that was including some of the games where they were a lot healthier. They're not as great this year. I'm picking the Bills, especially in Buffalo, late November game. Look, I get that the Mile High Stadium does things to people, but I think beating the Steelers does things to the Browns. Browns are going to win this one in Mile High and improve to 4-8 on the year. Those are my picks.
Bold. A bold set of picks from both of you, gentlemen.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to wrap up today's awesome episode. Blake Wally joining us, had an awesome appearance today for the full time. I love it. Mike, yes. So let's do this. Let's start with Blake while we're there. Blake, anything you want to tell people about, places to find you? You do other shows. Just here's your chance to tell us.
Say quick, just TV's Blake Wally, and the archive is on thenextlevelnews.com for all of the non-football shows that we do. All right. Nice.
And let me promote Blake real quick. He did a great job. He and I went to North Carolina. We did a documentary called Hurricane Helene, Help on the Way. Blake did a great job starring in it, producing it, editing it, putting it together and getting it out there. Although I do still need the watermark version. I don't know if that expired.
It's already in here. I just emailed that to you a long time ago, dude.
Can you reset, or is it there now, or does it expire after 14?
Check your WeTransfer. If it expired, I'll send you another one.
Okay. All right. TNAM watermark, making a note. But check out that documentary, Hurricane Helene help on the way with Blake. Mike Bara, you do a bunch of shows. Tell people about those.
Just mikebara.blogspot.com or just Google Mike Bara. There's be a lot of bullshit about me that's not true, but you'll also get the link to my blog site. Mike Bara chat on Telegram is a great place to catch up and follow me at Mike Bara 333 on Twitter X, seahawkboymikeb on Twitter X as well, and just find me everywhere, Mike Bara. There's not that many because not that many people spell it the way I do anyway. So nice to have you here, and of course, always follow Strictly Football on Twitter. TNAM, right?
TNAM Football.
TNAM Football.
Yes, TNAM Football. That's where you find the Strictly Football show. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Blake. Yes, special reminder, we do have these. These are made in Ohio. They're wooden coasters, sets of 4. One shaped like the great state of Ohio and the other in the circle shape with our beer mug. So if you shoot me a Venmo at Brian Engelman, I will send you one of 100 of these pins. I will never make another version of this pin exactly like this. It will forever be a collector's item. Shoot me $75 and I'll send you all 3 of these, shipping included. These are awesome. Ohio-made wooden coasters for your man cave. Check out the Unhappy Hour Sports Show in all the places. Check out the New American Media in all of the places. Check out the Agree to Disagree show that Blake is so often co-host, contributor, producer, engineer, all of those things as well. And yes, I also play, I'm a utility infielder for whenever somebody needs a day off over on Toxically Masculine Tuesday, where the boys do their regular thing. Of course, you're doing Whiskey and Wisdom tonight as well, Mike?
Tonight at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern, Whiskey and Wisdom on the original Mark Z's channel on YouTube. And featuring Mike Bara's bad dating advice. Which is actually good dating advice. So take it, ladies.
Bad dating advice is good dating advice. Awesome. Oh, okay. Look, we got one question, and we'll end the show on this question. Got any for Michigan? Okay, look, I'm going to take no. We call that team up north. We don't even say their name, especially during the week. Ohio State versus Michigan. Any thoughts, gentlemen? Who's going to win this one? Is there any doubt that Ryan Day gets his first victory against that team up north? Mike, then Blake.
Well, if Washington can beat Michigan, so can Ohio State, because they're a lot better than Washington. So I think it's pretty easy to say, yeah, they're going to win.
All right. What say you?
Yeah, it's a transition year for Michigan, so they're not as strong this year. It should be easy for Ohio State this time around. I don't want to jinx you, Brian, but
I know I agree with all of that analysis, and for 100 other reasons, I agree. However, I can't believe Ryan Day's 0-3 to these bums. I can't believe it's happened the way that it has. And I know we're number 2, and we've played 3 top 5 teams this season, Penn State, Indiana, and the number 1 team. And we lost that game by 1 point to Oregon. So it's going to be a crazy Big Ten championship and a playoff season. I'm rooting for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And go Washington Huskies over Oregon this weekend. Go Huskies.
Go Huskies. Kathy saying, guess where I grew up? I used to go to that team up north's place. What fun. Look, I like Ann Arbor. My band played there, had a great time. But this week, it's all about the Buckeyes, baby.
21-point favorite. 3 touchdown favorite, yeah.
Well, let's just take care of business and focus on the Big Ten championship and the playoffs. Anyway, that's going to wrap up today's show. Thank you, everybody in the TNAM universe out there.